To Long Chen's surprise, the experts surrounding him bore a striking resemblance to humans, save for their third eyes and teeth as jagged as a saw. Their limbs were long, and their nails were like sharp blades, gleaming with a metallic sheen that lent them a fearsome and savage appearance. These life forms appeared silently and without any warning. In an instant, they surrounded Long Chen, their gazes ferocious, as if they might attack at any moment. Long Chen frowned. He had never seen this race before. However, from their ferocious gazes, he knew that they weren't a kind bunch of bastards. What puzzled Long Chen the most was the potent medicinal energy emanating from them. Such a phenomenon was typically associated with spirit beasts that habitually ingested medicinal ingredients. Many spirit beasts consumed precious medicines as part of their diet, accumulating a large amount of medicinal essence in them. Take, for instance, the scarlet armor armadillo, whose body was so infused with medicinal energy that nearly every part of it held medicinal properties. On the other hand, these humanoid life forms had different fluctuations. Their medicinal energy wasn't acquired through natural absorption but rather through excessive consumption. Because they consumed medicinal ingredients above their limit, an overflow of medicinal fluctuations like this occurred. In other words, these life forms had to sustain themselves through prolonged consumption of medicinal elixirs or perhaps by ingesting an immense quantity of medicinal pills. That was the only way to produce such fluctuations. Although humans also consumed a lot of medicinal pills for cultivation, comprehension, healing, and breaking through, they had one natural advantage. As long as they avoided excessive consumption of low-grade pills, they could slowly expel any accumulated toxins, thus mitigating the potential side effects. However, these life forms were different. With one look, Long Chen could tell that most of them were brimming with pill toxins. They might explode at any moment. All of this made sense. What perplexed Long Chen was where these life forms could have gotten so many medicinal pills. They didn't seem like the type capable of refining their own pills. "What are you looking at? Hand over the treasure of this place, or we'll make you regret being born," shouted one of them. They had arrived just in time to see Long Chen squatting and digging something out of the ground. Thinking that they had arrived one step too late, they immediately surrounded him. Looking at them, Long Chen couldn't be bothered to waste any words. With a wave of his hand, he grabbed the neck of the person who shouted. Long Chen then tightened his grip and crushed that life form to death, causing countless soul fragments to fly through the air. In truth, this life form was the strongest one in this group. However, he only had the power of a 3-star doyen. Even before his blood was switched out, Long Chen could have killed this guy with the wave of his hand. Now, he wasn't even sure of the extent of his newfound strength, so that life form was no more than an ant in his presence. Medicine slaves? The 3-eye race? Long Chen scanned those soul fragments and found that they were not normal. The individual's soul appeared to be in a state of half-madness, with numerous fragments blank, as if he were a puppet manipulated by someone. Kill! At the sight of their comrade's demise, the other life forms launched into a frenzied assault, rushing toward Long Chen like deranged bastards. In response, Long Chen raised his head and let out a dragon roar that reverberated through the world. A powerful ripple surged forth, reducing the 3-eye life forms to dust in an instant. With a single roar, he wiped out tens of thousands of 3-eye life forms. The power of Long Chen's dragon cry was far more terrifying than before. What a vile technique, using medicine to control their wills, turning them into puppets. Long Chen remarked with disdain, his gaze turning icy as he sensed the air. Although he didn't gain any useful information from the soul fragments, as an alchemy master, Long Chen could tell that this group of life forms had no free will. Someone had fed them medicine to control their souls. Moreover, the one controlling them had to be an alchemy master. While Long Chen believed that employing alchemy for both healing and harm was acceptable, using medicine to subjugate others like this was utterly abhorrent. What a hateful technique! The Earth Cauldron's voice rang out in Long Chen's mind. It seemed that it also loathed this method. Wait, if they're medicine slaves, doesn't that mean that their master is nearby? Long Chen suddenly had a thought. If their master was in the vicinity, then these medicine slaves were probably gathering the medicinal ingredients in this land. I have to hurry up. Otherwise, someone else will get all the medicinal ingredients, shouted Long Chun as he flew off. An hour later, Long Chun heard the resounding roars echoing from up ahead. Peering ahead, he witnessed a fierce battle unfolding between a beast and a group of life forms. A clash over treasure, once again. This group had 5 7-star doyens. Long Chun didn't recognize what race they came from, but he vaguely caught a hint of devil chi from them. Most likely they had some affiliation with the devil race. Just as their fight reached the climax, Long Chun silently appeared with an exploding world extermination flame lotus, catching the beast and all the life forms off guard. After that attack, only the beast and the 5 7-star doyens survived. However, they were pretty much half dead. The 5 doyens cursed but didn't dare to stay around any longer. The beast also tried to flee, but due to its big ass it wasn't agile at all. Long Chun just struck its head with his fist, and it fell to the ground, lifeless. After tossing its corpse into the primal chaos space, Long Chun dug out the small flower behind it. Without even checking the tier of the flower, he sent it into the primal chaos space and flew off. The entire process of ambushing, slaying the guardian, seizing the treasure, and departing unfolded with such ease that Long Chun started to feel that he was a genius bandit. Long Chun sped forward, abandoning his previous wide-ranging search strategy and just going for a straight and swift path. After all, the further he delved, the more valuable the treasures would become. Moreover, the appearance of the medicine slaves heightened Long Chun's sense of urgency. Time was of the essence, and he couldn't afford to waste it. Long Chun occasionally saw other experts fighting the guardian beasts. If he didn't like the group, he'd directly take what they were fighting for. Sometimes, the guardian beasts would be too much of a bother to deal with. If he couldn't kill the beasts in one blow, he aimed for their medicinal ingredients and took them. After that, the experts fighting the beasts would face a calamity. Thinking Long Chun was their comrade, the frenzied beasts would go after these experts after losing their treasures. Observing the chaos unfold as they scattered in panic, their curses echoing in his ears, Long Chun inexplicably felt a surge of satisfaction deep within. Suddenly, Long Chun halted mid-flight and changed directions. He turned to the left, a familiar sensation washing over him once more, the unmistakable aura of the medicine slaves. Boom! A mountain shattered, sending dust and stones swirling through the air as the colossal beast collapsed. Tens of thousands of 3-eye experts cheered, celebrating their collective effort in slaying the formidable creature. It had been extremely ferocious, and they had lost quite a few people to take it down. However, just as they were going to enter its nest and take the precious medicine inside, they saw a black-robed man walk out. Their fury exploded as they saw that the medicine inside was gone. "You little thief! Hand over your life!" Witnessing their hard-earned harvest snatched away by another, the 3-eye experts blazed with fury. "TCH, is this stealing? Don't you think it's more like snatching?" said Long Chun disdainfully. "Kill him!" A 7-star doyen was the first to charge at Long Chun, but with a swift slap to the face, Long Chun sent him hurtling through the air, crashing into the ground and leaving a sizable crater. The experts behind him were caught off guard and were also sent flying by the force of the impact. Before the other top experts could even reach Long Chun, he dispatched them with a powerful kick, sending them tumbling through the air. The 3-eye experts stood stunned, not expecting Long Chun to be so powerful. Even though Long Chun had switched out his blood, he shouldn't be able to beat up 7-star doyens like beating children. However, these doyens simply didn't have the actual power that their doyen status should have. Though they possessed the aura of a 7-star doyen, they fell short in actual strength. When they attacked, their power was even a bit weaker than some 6-star doyens. Such strength posed no threat to Long Chun. "How dare you steal from us? If our master learns of this, he will definitely extract your soul and subject you to eternal torture," shouted one of them. "Master? Who is your master?" asked Long Chun directly. In truth, this was the only reason he didn't directly kill them. "Do you think you're fit to hear our master's name?" Die! One of the seven-star doyens suddenly took out a medicinal pill. Upon seeing it, Long Chen's eyes widened in recognition. A life-end pill? Is that real? Long Chen exclaimed in disbelief. Before he could process the situation, the individual swiftly consumed the pill, crushing it with his teeth. Master, thank you for your pity and mercy. You let me defy the heavens and change my fate. From the ranks of mediocrity, you allow me to rise to the ranks of experts. Today, I will sacrifice everything to repay your benevolence. Almighty Master, your servant is about to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Please hear my call, and let me reincarnate as your most loyal servant in my next life. Long Chen stared in disbelief as this expert prayed devoutly. After that, flames appeared all over him as he ignited his essence, qi, and spirit. Is he crazy? Asked Long Chen with disbelief. This person didn't hesitate to consume a life-end pill. It was a violent poison pill capable of letting a person unleash dozens of times their strength. An extremely heaven-defying pill. However, it was no ordinary poison. It was said that those who consumed it were defying the natural order to gain power, an act frowned upon by the heavens. Therefore, anyone who consumed it would not enter the cycle of reincarnation. The heavenly Daos would not permit their existence, and so they would be eradicated. Even Long Chen had never refined this kind of pill. This was a taboo, one that even the great pill sovereign did not touch. However, this person did not hesitate to consume it. Furthermore, he spoke of his next life, so he clearly didn't know what this pill signified. Boom! As the person's aura surged and he ignited in flames, he charged at Long Chen, his hands slashing through the air like claws. In a single devastating strike, he condensed all his power into this attack, his ferocious aura distorting the space around him. However, just as he thought that this attack would kill Long Chen, a hand covered in scales slammed forward, reducing the claw and him to a mist of blood. Powered-up weaklings are still weaklings. Even if you get 100 times stronger, what can you possibly achieve? Long Chen's voice dripped with cold disdain. They were fundamentally not experts. They relied solely on medicinal pills to elevate their realm, akin to paper tigers. With just a touch, they crumbled. Paper tigers, regardless of their strength, remained paper at the core. Their thickness did not change, rendering their newfound power futile. Despite witnessing the swift demise of their comrade at Long Chen's hands, the remaining three-eye experts displayed no fear. With defiant roars, they charged forward once more. It seemed that not all of them possessed life-end pills. Despite knowing that they were sending themselves to their deaths, they continued to charge at Long Chen like madmen. In response, Long Chen showed no mercy. He killed their strongest experts with his palm, and none of them could stop him. It seemed that these people didn't even understand what death was. Even as their comrades fell, they didn't react and continued to charge. The crazy light in their eyes was rather frightening. Long Chen's gaze remained apathetic. These life forms were no more than killing machines, so he naturally wouldn't bestow them any of his pity or sympathy. However, he was in no rush to kill them all. He killed them one by one as they charged at him. When he had killed over 30 of their top experts, he finally sensed something. Buzz. One of those three-eye experts had their third eye open. After that, his manifestation burst open, revealing a white-robed figure. When this white-robed figure appeared, the temperature of the world soared, setting the air ablaze. The world was twisting from this heat, and everything became like a mirage. Master! Seeing the figure, all the three-eye experts instantly calmed down. They stopped attacking Long Chen and kowtowed toward that white-robed figure. You're finally showing yourself. Long Chen gazed at that figure indifferently as he had expected this. You're very brazen. The white-robed figure spoke with a man's voice, devoid of any hint of age but dripping with arrogance. A little, but I can't compare to you. As an alchemist, you actually used medicinal pills to brainwash people. Are you not afraid of karmic retribution? Long Chen's voice was cold and laced with accusation. Ha ha ha! The white-robed man laughed derisively. Karmic retribution? What a foolish question. The fact that you even mention it shows that we are simply not on the same level. You may as well meet your end here. With a flourish of hand seals, the world ignited in flames, and a sacred chanting filled the air. At the sound of that chanting, Long Chen's killing intent solidified. The Nirvana scripture. Long Chen was surprised to hear this person start chanting the Nirvana scripture. When he chanted, this world twisted and turned, and endless flames gathered around him. These flames engulfed everything, reducing all the 3I experts present to ash. Only the individual whose manifestation the white-robed man inhabited remained alive, shielded by intricate flame runes. Long Chen found himself trapped in a sea of flames, his eyes scarlet with rage. He clenched his fists so hard that they audibly creaked, a vein throbbing on his forehead. "Who is Lord Brahma to you?" Long Chen demanded through gritted teeth, his voice seething with anger. "Foolish ant! You dare to speak the name of divine venerate Brahma so casually?" sneered the white-robed man, refusing to answer Long Chen's question. As the flame gathered, it formed a raging sea of fire, its intense heat engulfing Long Chen and searing not just his body but also his soul. However, the flames of fury in his heart were even more frightening than these flames. He knew that the person before him was closely related to Lord Brahma. As for Lord Brahma, he was Long Chen's mortal enemy, a foe he had never seen before but hated to the core. This animosity ran deep, transcending time itself. "Bring your real body here. I don't feel like killing the clone of Lord Brahma's disciple," stated Long Chen coldly. In the end, Long Chen managed to resist his compulsion to beat this man up. After all, the latter was nothing more than a projection clone. Killing it was meaningless. Long Chen wanted to kill his real body. "Who do you think you are to act so ridiculously self-important?" sneered the white-robed man. "Foolish one, you don't know who I am. If you did, you wouldn't dare to speak to me with such a tone," responded Long Chen just as disdainfully. "Oh, you've managed to pique my interest. Who are you?" asked the white-robed man. "You don't know me, but Lord Brahma does," replied Long Chen solemnly. "What nonsense! How could my master know you? Unless— No, it's impossible. Your spiritual fluctuations aren't that of a reincarnator or a sealed expert," retorted the white-robed man. "Fool, everyone knows Lord Brahma. But do you know who Lord Brahma's father is?" Long Chen's voice dripped with scorn. "I—" The white-robed man was baffled. He was at a loss for an answer because he didn't know it himself. "Then do you know?" counter-asked the white-robed man. "Of course." "Who is he?" Long Chen swung his sleeve and patted his own chest. "'Tis I. Lord Brahma's father is me. Blasphemer! Face your death!" Boom! The white-robed man's hand seals changed, commanding flame dragons to roar within the sea of fire and point at Long Chen with their huge mouths. Long Chen's soul tightened as an intense sensation of death swelled within him. 8 dragon mouths locked onto him. But this lock wasn't imposed by the white-robed man or the flame dragons. It emanated from this world. Before Long Chen could react, the flame dragons unleashed spheres of fire toward him from all directions. Front, back, left, right, above, and below, sealing off every possible escape route. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Boom! All the spheres of fire exploded around Long Chen at the same time, and the intense impact shattered the void, blasting the laws of the world out of existence. This was a terrifying divine ability, and its most terrifying aspect was its short cast time. Even an experienced fighter like Long Chen had no time to dodge it. Amid the blazing flames and twisted space, a black figure came flying out and headed straight for the white-robed figure. This black figure was naturally Long Chen. He had blood all over him. Perhaps the last attack would have killed him if Huolinger had not helped him block the majority of its power. Long Chen realized he had underestimated this guy. What truly unsettled him was not just the man's power, but his remarkable ability to harness the world's latent energy. Moreover, he could unleash this power with alarming swiftness, catching Long Chen off guard and leaving him with little time to react. You're not dead? Seeing Long Chen come flying out, that white-robed man seemed shocked. It seemed that he hadn't expected this. Just then, Long Chen had arrived right in front of him. The white-robed man sneered. You survived by the skin of your teeth, but instead of running, you actually came right at me. I really underestimated your stupidity. You can't harm me, but I can take your life at any time. With a snort, the white-robed man formed one-handed seals, and the chanting in the air suddenly changed. The flames that started to scatter condensed again, and this time countless flame dragons were attacking Long Chen. In response, Long Chen ignored this. When he was in front of the white-robed man, his scale-covered hand reached for the white-robed man's throat. Idiot! The white-robed man sneered and ignored his hand because he didn't possess a physical body here. Long Chen couldn't touch him. Just as he was about to continue with his attack, Long Chen's hand firmly locked onto his throat. What? The white-robed man was taken aback. He then looked at Long Chen and saw that at some point, Long Chen's left eye had turned completely black, akin to a black hole that could suck in all the stars in the sky. Within this pitch-black eye, 3 flowers spun, forcing the white-robed man's clone to become solid. Long Chen's hand could then catch it. Soul refinement! Long Chen let out a howl like a god's roar. The next moment, the white-robed man quivered, and 3 flowers appeared in his eyes as well, mirroring the ones in Long Chen's gaze. Long Chen's gaze remained fixed on the white-robed man's eyes, the 3 flowers within his own eyes spinning in perfect synchronization with those in the white-robed man's. Suddenly, the white-robed man's clone exploded, turning into smoke. On a distant mountain peak, a white-robed man with a fair complexion and shoulder-length hair emitted a furious roar. With the roar, he expelled a mouthful of blood, his eyes transforming into a fiery red hue. Black blood started to seep slowly from his eyes, staining his face with its dark hue. That damn bastard! Don't let me find you, or I'll skin you and refine your soul. Divine Son, what happened? This roar drew the attention of countless experts in the surroundings. All of them were 7-star doyens, and there were thousands of them. Convey my commands to everyone. Even if you have to flip the heavens, find that bastard for me. With a wave of his hand, the image of a black-robed man appeared in all their minds. Yes! A terrifying bloodlust filled the sky as they set out on their mission. Damn bastard! Long Chen's furious roar reverberated through the air. The white-robed man had detonated right in his hands, leaving Long Chen in a bad state, his left eye still bleeding. I was just a bit off. With a furious punch, he obliterated the last remaining expert of the 3-eye race. There was no longer any reason to keep him alive now that the white-robed man was no longer here. If it weren't for the injury in my purgatory eyes, I would have been able to draw out his real body, muttered Long Chen hatefully. In his battle with Nether Dragon Tianzhao, Long Chen had used the purgatory eyes to send the Emperor Blood Silk net into the chaotic flow of space. This action had resulted in severe injuries to his purgatory eyes. Although he had partially recovered in the White Dragon ancestral scale space, the purgatory eyes were still in a state of healing. Theoretically, he shouldn't have used the purgatory eyes again until they were fully recovered. But in that situation, Long Chen couldn't be bothered with that. Regrettably, he couldn't fully unleash the full power of the purgatory eyes in their state. So, in the end, he failed to drag out the true body of the white-robed man. It was the first time Long Chen had been unable to retaliate against his enemy's attack, and it fueled his anger. He might be able to tolerate other bastards, but suffering because of Lord Brahma's disciple was simply intolerable. He had the audacity to dismiss the notion of karmic retribution as a foolish question. Just wait. I'll show him the true meaning of karma, and who the real fool is. Long Chen vowed with a deep breath, struggling to contain his anger. Your temper really is explosive, remarked the Earth Cauldron, its tone tinged with amusement, as if teasing Long Chen. Long Chen was startled, but then a realization dawned on him. Senior, Did you bring me here for him? I can't say. Can't say, replied the Earth Cauldron profoundly. Long Chen's anger vanished, replaced by a sense of clarity. The Earth Cauldron didn't say that it was leading him here for medicinal ingredients. Its goal had to be beyond that. Then this white-robed man's appearance was definitely not a coincidence. However, if the Earth Cauldron refused to answer, Long Chen wouldn't keep asking. He then took out the eye patch that Bai Shaola's mother had given him and put it on his left eye. Once again, he became a one-eyed dragon. Though it gave him a somewhat suspicious appearance, this eye patch was specially made to heal injuries caused by pupil arts. As he fastened it in place, the searing pain subsided, replaced by a refreshing coolness. Unlike medicinal pills, this eye patch possessed a unique healing effect that surpassed conventional methods. Long Chen knew he could only wear it temporarily until his injuries fully mended. "Senior, do you know about the Nirvana scripture?" asked Long Chen. "There is no one who doesn't know of the number 1 flame element scripture within the 9 heavens and 10 lands," remarked the Earth Cauldron. "That fellow just now, was he chanting the 7th volume?" inquired Long Chen. "Correct." This time, the Earth Cauldron answered him very directly. Long Chen nodded. He had only come into contact with the first 6 volumes of the Nirvana scripture. Furthermore, when it came to the 6th volume, he basically hadn't learned it. That was because he only knew the scripture of the 6th volume and not the hand seals. Although the High Firmament Academy's collection included the first 8 volumes of the Nirvana scripture, they didn't give the 6th to 8th volumes to just anyone to cultivate. Even Long Chen was not an exception. The 6th volume scripture was both challenging to pronounce and profoundly intricate, making it difficult to comprehend without a deep understanding of its meaning. When it came to the Nirvana scripture, every syllable had to be precise. Otherwise, the flame energy drawn from the world would become unstable. Long Chen had tested using the 6th volume, only to be injured several times. He had come perilously close to killing himself in the process and had since refrained from further experimentation. Although Long Chen had yet to master the 6th volume himself, he could still mimic its usage if someone else were to recite it. However, the Nirvana scripture recited by the white-robed man was unfamiliar to Long Chen. This indicated that it was not the 6th volume, and that was why Long Chen had asked about it. "Senior, could the complete Nirvana scripture be found here?" Long Chen suddenly jumped up. "Why don't you guess?" This time, the Earth Cauldron didn't reply directly. "Ha ha ha." Long Chen raised his head and laughed. Although the Earth Cauldron didn't reply, Long Chen already knew the answer. Long Chen was filled with excitement. If he could obtain the complete Nirvana scripture, then he would be able to control the world's flame energy just like the white-robed man. Long Chen's previous outburst had been fueled not only by anger but also by jealousy. The fact that Lord Brahma's disciple could wield a higher-tier Nirvana scripture than him was something he couldn't stomach. Thinking of how he could obtain the Nirvana scripture here, Long Chen felt a new sense of determination. The white-robed man's power allowed Long Chen to see the tip of the iceberg of the Nirvana scripture. "You should heal for now. Your use of purgatory eyes also damaged that fellow's Yuan spirit. He's clearly a petty person and will likely seek revenge with even greater urgency than you. You need to be cautious," warned the Earth Cauldron. "If we're all injured, then if he finds me, we can have a fair fight. Even without the Nirvana scripture, I still have the confidence to kill him," said Long Chen confidently. "You're getting cocky. While you may have dragon blood strengthening you now, you don't know how powerful the Nirvana scripture is. If you were to encounter him now, you wouldn't be able to properly unleash any of your power. Moreover, aside from him, do you realize how many medicine slaves he commands?" asked the Earth Cauldron. "Oh." Long Chen fell silent at the Earth Cauldron's question. While he held medicine slaves in contempt, he couldn't deny their terrifying capabilities. Medicine slaves were madmen fully loyal to their masters, and they could carry out any order, no matter how extreme. Long Chen didn't fear the white-robed man's power even after the Earth Cauldron had cautioned him about it. However, facing a horde of medicine slaves after an exhausting battle, such an encounter could prove fatal even for him. Medicine slaves? Wait, Long Chun suddenly thought of something and hastily checked the primal chaos space. He found that there weren't that many new heavenly Doyen fruits. He had just slain so many 7-star Doyens, but not a single 7-star heavenly Doyen fruit appeared on the tree. Long Chun quickly grasped the reason. It seemed that medicine slaves were only quasi-Doyens created through medicinal pills. They were not truly recognized by the heavenly Daos. Thus, when they died, the heavenly Dao tree didn't generate new heavenly Doyen fruits. Fuck. Here I thought you were supposed to be so amazing, but you can only make a bunch of fake Doyens. Hee hee. I can make real ones though, sneered Long Chun. He exited the primal chaos space and chose to listen to the Earth Cauldron's advice, finding a place to heal. While his normal injury could be instantly healed with the primal chaos space's life energy, the white-robed man's assaults were infused with the power of the Nirvana scripture, harnessing the forces of heaven and earth. Hence, the resulting injury transcended mere physical harm, as it involved the very laws and will of the world. Such a wound might last forever on someone else. But on Long Chun it only took 6 hours to fully heal. It went without saying that his constitution was truly terrifying. After recovering, Long Chun didn't waste any time and headed in the direction that the Earth Cauldron indicated, charging deeper into this area. Long Chun didn't continue looking for medicinal ingredients. After all, there was something more important waiting for him here. Furthermore, he was also competing with Lord Brahma's disciple, so he didn't dare to tarry. Big brother Long Chun, I'm sorry. I reacted too slowly back then. I didn't come out to help immediately. Hualinger's apologetic voice rang out. When the white-robed man attacked, she didn't come out immediately, resulting in Long Chun being injured. Hence, she felt guilty. If she had taken action earlier, even if only passively defending, Long Chun's injuries would have been less severe. Hualinger and Lei Linger possessed unique powers that were intrinsic to them. After all, it was exceedingly rare for spiritual bodies to have control over their own power. This stemmed from the fact that no master would let their spiritual bodies do so, mainly due to the inherent risks involved. If a spiritual body had a slave seal on it, the scenario would be different. In that case, the master could unleash the spiritual body's power with a single thought, and the spiritual body would be compelled to comply even if it desired otherwise. However, Hualinger and Lei Linger operated differently, and despite their connection to Long Chun's soul, they couldn't immediately react to a sudden attack. It was this slight delay that allowed the white-robed man's attack to land before Hualinger could react, ultimately leading to Long Chun's injury. Foolish girl, it's not your mistake. Our cooperation is almost flawless, and I don't believe that you reacted too slowly. I believe that Fellow's Nirvana scripture affected your reaction time, consoled Long Chun. Really? Hualinger's eyes lit up. With their souls connected and their utmost trust in each other, they could fight freely and effortlessly. Thus, even without a slave seal, Long Chun was connected to their power. Long Chun never doubted his connection with Hualinger. That was why his first suspicion was that this fellow's Nirvana scripture was capable of affecting Hualinger. Considering that Hualinger had been in the primal chaos space, the Nirvana scripture shouldn't have been able to influence her. However, the Nirvana scripture was the number 1 flame scripture of the 9 heavens and 10 lands, and even the Earth Cauldron acknowledged that it was a terrifying existence. Based on Long Chun's analysis, there were only 2 explanations for the situation. The first one was that this Nirvana scripture could penetrate the primal chaos space and affect Hualinger from a different space. However, there was another possibility to consider. The Nirvana scripture could have limited Long Chun's senses toward flame energy, as well as his ability to circulate his own flame energy. As Long Chun served as Hualinger's link to the external world beyond the primal chaos space, any effects experienced by Long Chun would also impact Hualinger. Regardless, Long Chun couldn't shake the feeling that he had only glimpsed another aspect of the Nirvana scripture's power, and this glimpse filled him with a fervent desire to obtain it. Long Chun saw countless experts as he sped through this land. Some were attacking the beasts in the surroundings head-on, and others were launching sneak attacks. However, the further he went in this area, the stronger the beasts were. Long Chun personally witnessed an Earth Dragon variant unleash a wave of breath that annihilated tens of thousands of experts who had come for its treasure. Its breath even annihilated seven-star doyens, not allowing them to flee. Moreover, these seven-star doyens were real experts, not quasi-doyens like the medicine slaves. Taking advantage of the distraction, Long Chen dove in and grabbed a fruit that looked like a jujube pit. Feeling something amiss, the earth dragon seethed with rage and attacked Long Chen, but Long Chen had fled rapidly. As the earth dragon didn't dare to leave its territory, after roaring a few times, it returned dejectedly. Long Chen saw many precious medicinal ingredients that he had never seen before. Whether he recognized them or not, he made sure to collect them all, preferring not to overlook any potential treasures. To maintain his momentum, Long Chen proceeded in a straight line, only deviating to collect items that were directly in his path, regardless of any disturbances he heard in other areas. As Long Chen continued his advance, despite no longer encountering any members of the three-eye race, he suddenly detected an aura similar to that of medicine slaves. However, he ignored it and continued rushing forward. Several days later, he found that the surrounding world had gone silent. He could neither hear the roars of wild beasts nor find any other cultivators. This place was now frighteningly quiet, causing the air to be filled with a sense of danger. It was so suffocating that even Long Chen felt his soul quivering. It seems there are some fatally dangerous things here. Long Chen saw a misty cloud up ahead. Unable to see into it, he didn't know what was hidden inside. Moments ago, Long Chen could still discern the roars of other experts and beasts echoing in the distance. However, in an instant, it was as if all sounds were abruptly severed by an invisible blade, leaving behind an unsettling silence. But no matter how dangerous it was, for the Nirvana scripture, Long Chen had to advance. Thinking that the disciple of Lord Brahma might also be after the Nirvana scripture, Long Chen refused to retreat. When Long Chen stepped into this mist, his hair instantly stood on end. An intense sensation of danger welled up within him as he felt like he had entered a domain of death. Within the dense mist, Long Chen found his spiritual perception severely suppressed, along with his vision. His senses were constrained to a mere 100 miles. While this might seem considerable, it paled in comparison to the vast size of the beasts he encountered, some of which spanned thousands of miles. This bit of distance was unable to give him any sense of security. Crack. A light sound rang out beneath Long Chen's foot. Looking around, he realized that there was no longer any grass or stone in the surroundings. It was a desert. This desert was white. However, what scared him shitless was the realization that the sand beneath his feet was not sand at all. It was composed of countless bone fragments. Long Chen had stepped onto a white bone just now. Its surface was covered in densely packed runes, which showed that its master's power was formidable. However, the bone had deteriorated to such an extent that even the slightest touch caused it to crumble into dust. The bone's runes were a deep blood-red hue, indicating that its master had died not long ago, likely within 10 days. Yet, it looked like it had eroded for millions of years. It didn't make sense. Long Chen's vigilance intensified at this revelation. Clearly, others had already ventured into this area. Faced with the unknown dangers of this realm, only those with unwavering confidence would dare to press forward. As Long Chen advanced through the bone-laden desert, a python silently appeared out of the mist and leaped at Long Chen's neck. This was not a python. Rather, it was a vine, riddled in holes like a honeycomb. The vine presented a terrifying sight as it crept up silently. When it got close to Long Chen, it synchronized with Long Chen's steps, skillfully keeping itself concealed within his blind spot. In theory, an expert's senses could cover every direction, but there were no absolutes. Even when their senses covered every direction, there were always stronger and weaker areas. A person's blind spot went straight back from the pit of their stomach through their spine in a straight line, with 2 additional blind spots leaning to the left and right. Typically, these 3 blind spots were the areas where assassins struck the most often. As for this vine, it was like a python, slowly creeping up from Long Chen's blind spot. The way it swayed as it perfectly followed Long Chen's footsteps allowed it to stay within Long Chen's blind spot. Big brother Long Chen. Shoo! I see it. Long Chun gestured for Hulinger not to speak, as that would distract him. From the moment the vine appeared, Long Chun already sensed its existence. After all, not many things could deceive the senses of the 9-star hegemon body art. Long Chun didn't want to alarm it and just let it get closer. This was a powerful life form. But Long Chun couldn't sense its aura, which meant that this vine was nothing more than a probing blow. His true body was somewhere else. Hee. So Big Brother Long Chun is up to something bad again, laughed Hulinger. Long Chun carefully advanced, occasionally looking behind and around him. No matter how he turned, the vine in the mist remained in his blind spot. With the thickness of an arm, it remained less than 3 meters from Long Chun the entire time. Long Chun suddenly stopped advancing, and the vine followed. Long Chun seemed to sense something and started to look around anxiously. However, he was unable to see anything as the vine moved along with him. After a while, Long Chun seemed to relax and continued onward. Just as he took another step, that vine suddenly shot forward, instantly wrapping around Long Chun's neck. Long Chun let out a startled cry. When the vine wrapped around his neck, it fiercely pulled him underground. Long Chun struggled but was quickly dragged beneath the sand. Any marks of his struggle slowly faded away on the ground. Despite being covered by dragon scales, Long Chun still felt some pain as countless stingers came out of the vine, stabbing into him and producing creaking sounds. To his astonishment, these stingers actually left white marks on his dragon scales, indicating that they were tougher than eternal divine weapons. If Long Chun had not undergone the blood-switching process, therefore greatly increasing the power of his dragon armor, he wouldn't have been able to block these stingers. The stingers were dark red and produced some sticky fluid on them, which looked clearly poisonous. Long Chun knew that he wouldn't be able to withstand the poison if it got into him. As Long Chun wildly struggled, dozens of these vines appeared around him. Within the sand, they bound him tightly, dragging him deeper. The ground here was very soft as it consisted of white bone granules. No matter how Long Chun struggled, he was unable to escape his fate of being dragged underground. After a while of being dragged through the ground, Long Chun found himself in an underground space. Despite being deep underground, there was curiously an open space here. However, this place was filled with a giant root system that looked like pythons. They were what created the scaffolding for this underground space. This place was extremely clean, save for a blood pool at the center. Within the depths of this blood pool lay an object emitting a radiant glow akin to that of the sun. The great sun sunflower, a rare immemorial species. Seeing the sunflower, Long Chun's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He recognized this legendary divine medicine. The great sun sunflower existed only in the realm of legend, originating in the immemorial era and fading into extinction thereafter. Since that time, it had never graced the world with its presence again. The great sun sunflower was a divine medicine of unparalleled yang essence, possessing potent medicinal properties. It stood as the epitome among yang element divine medicines and held the prestigious title of the most potent ingredient for crafting yang element pills. The great sun sunflower looked no different from an ordinary sunflower, but it radiated the light of a sun. Every single one of its seeds was a peerless treasure. Any male, regardless of their race, would experience a significant surge in power and endurance upon consuming a single seed of the great sun sunflower. Additionally, it would activate and enhance their innate bloodline abilities. Other than that, it also had one heaven-defying use. It could treat male infertility. It was a well-known fact that as cultivators grew stronger, their likelihood of conceiving diminished, with male infertility being a primary concern. This was one of the laws of the heavenly Taos. Without it, the potential consequences could be catastrophic. Imagine if a sage king engaged in prolific mating with ordinary individuals, spawning numerous exceptionally talented descendants each year. Such a scenario had the potential to plunge the world into utter chaos. Since this was the case, some eternal experts might find themselves unable to conceive a single child despite decades, or even centuries of fervent attempts. However, the great sun sunflower's heaven-defying ability was to greatly increase the chance of conception. This one point made the great sun sunflower a priceless treasure that countless experts dreamed of obtaining. At this moment, countless tentacles were dragging Long Chun toward that blood pool. Long Chun was still struggling with all his might to escape. However, he couldn't. Just then, a giant head stuck out of the blood pool. Before Long Chun could even see its face clearly, its huge mouth opened up. Long Chun couldn't control himself anymore. The moment he was inside its mouth, his power erupted. Lightning flame world extermination, Long Chun roared. With lightning flashing in his left hand and flames raging in his right, the two energies erupted at the same time. Boom! Just as Long Chun detonated these two powers, the huge mouth spat him out. This lifeform's reaction speed was extremely fast. However, the mix of lightning and flames still blasted its mouth, causing a furious roar to shake the surroundings. As the giant head withdrew into the blood lake, the great sun sunflower also started to sink. However, before it could submerge, Long Chun grabbed it and pulled, ripping the great sun sunflower out by the roots. As soon as Long Chun extracted the great sun sunflower, the blood pool erupted violently, unleashing a frenzied aura. A colossal head materialized once more, unleashing a torrent of blood-colored energy directly toward Long Chun. Swiftly evading the attack, Long Chun watched as the blood-colored beam tore through the ceiling. In response, he swiftly tossed the great sun sunflower into the primal chaos space. Amidst the chaos, Long Chun found himself confronted by a grotesque entity bearing the likeness of a fish-headed monstrosity, accompanied by a mass of writhing tentacles. Though resembling a tree demon, Long Chun was unable to tell what exactly it was. The tree demon went crazy, its tentacles surrounding this area like a heaven-encompassing net. Now that I've obtained the great sun sunflower, do you think I'm afraid of you? Long Chun sneered. As his own blood chi erupted, a dragon cry rang out, accompanied by a surging wild aura that blew the underground space apart. The aura directly shattered countless tentacles. Long Chun then shouted, and a giant dragon claw reached out of his manifestation. Bang! The dragon claw struck that tree demon in the head, directly crushing it. The tree demon emitted an eerie wail as its head burst apart, yet its tentacles, akin to serpents, swiftly burrowed into the earth. Long Chun was taken aback by the creature's resilience. Even without its head, it continued to slither away into the depths. Just as Long Chun thought that he had dealt such a serious wound to the tree demon that it was fleeing, the ground erupted in a violent upheaval. A colossal head, dwarfing mountains, emerged from below, shocking Long Chun to his core. So, the mother tree had been lurking underground all along, and the thing Long Chun had injured earlier was likely its offspring. A giant head broke out of the earth, and then an enormous golden vine whipped through the air at Long Chun. Boom! Long Chun swung his fist toward the golden vine, followed by a powerful explosion that shook the space. The vine exploded, but Long Chun grunted and fell back, his blood flipping inside of him. The mother tree seethed with anger, summoning countless golden vines from above and below, threatening to destroy this space. Isn't this an existence on the level of a sage king? Long Chun's expression changed. He hadn't expected such a terrifying existence to be hidden underground. Attack together, Long Chun shouted. Lei Linger and Hualinger then joined in the fray, attacking the endless golden vines. Lightning crackled and flames roared as Long Chun, Lei Linger, and Hualinger burst forth from the golden vines. The damaged golden vines released golden droplets that scorched the earth upon contact, leaving smoldering craters in their wake. The tree demon's blood proved to be exceedingly toxic. At this moment, the earth exploded, revealing a horde of surging blood-colored tree demons. They resembled the one that had ambushed Long Chun earlier. Don't get entangled. Charge out. As Long Chun saw the scene, his heart shook. He had thought that it was just a single mother and son, but unexpectedly the mother tree had millions of children. If they were bogged down by them, even with Long Chun's big energy reserve, he would eventually run out of energy. The three of them unleashed all their power, spamming their ultimate moves like they were cabbages. After an hour of blasting their way through the blockades, they finally escaped the encirclement. After fleeing the desert and diving into a forest, they could finally take a breather. Long Chun didn't dare to go any deeper. The desert was that tree demon's territory, so who knew what kind of terrifying existence was guarding this forest? Perhaps it would be even more terrifying than the tree demon. Long Chun refrained from provoking whatever formidable entity lurked within the forest, taking the opportunity to swiftly replenish his energy. Similarly, Huolinger and Lei Linger also required a moment to regain their strength. The golden tree demon had been absolutely terrifying, its seemingly endless golden tentacles posing a real threat. Despite Long Chen's effort to dismantle them all, new ones emerged without pause. Fortunately, Lei Linger and Huolinger's powers could counter the tree demon, and their blades were able to slice through those tentacles. Even so, the two had used up a great deal of energy. If the tree demon had managed to tie them up for another 2 hours, the three of them would have used up all their energy and dropped dead. "Senior, what kind of monster was that? How was it so tough?" asked Long Chen. It was a ghost camphor tree demon, an undying life form with a tough life force and great craftiness. The mother trees usually hide deep underground and only send their sun spirits to fight for them. The sun spirits are like the ones that targeted you at the start. In truth, the sun spirits are puppets that the mother trees raised. When it spotted you and you acted weak, I thought that you already knew about its nature. I had assumed that you had a plan when you let it draw you into its den, replied the Earth Cauldron. Long Chun smiled bitterly. How could I know what this ghost camphor tree demon was? I thought that if it was sneaking up on me so furtively, it shouldn't be that strong in direct combat, so I wanted to trap it. However, its true body was absolutely terrifying. If I didn't have help from these two, I would have faced a true disaster today. If it's from the Undying race, I can understand why it's so strong. I just wonder what relationship it has with the Undying Willow race. Amongst the Undying race, there are high-tier life forms and low-tier life forms. The ghost camphor tree demons are low-tier life forms, and they have no relationship with the Undying Willow race, answered the Earth Cauldron. How can a low-tier life form be so terrifying? Exclaimed Long Chen. You've misunderstood, the Earth Cauldron interjected. The tiers are not indicative of power but rather intelligence. Take the ghost camphor tree demon, for instance. Despite its strength, you would still possess a means to kill it, correct? Yes, I was just caught off guard by it. If you gave me some time, I could come up with many ways to deal with it, said Long Chen. Now, he understood what the Earth Cauldron was saying about high and low-tier life forms. Then, Senior, what level was that tree demon? To use your human race's rankings, it would be considered to be in the Divine Venerate realm. What? Long Chen's jaw dropped. It's only one realm higher than me? Long Chen almost couldn't believe it. According to his senses, that tree demon's power was essentially on par with a Sage King. That's why I said you shouldn't underestimate low-tier life forms. They also have their terrifying points. The ghost camphor tree demon's bloodline is extremely ancient, so its power cannot be underestimated, explained the Earth Cauldron. Hearing this, Long Chun was taken aback. It seemed that he had to be more careful now. He had just entered this region but already encountered such a terrifying existence. Who knew how many more terrifying existences would be inside? He couldn't just barge in like this. This was not a place to play around. However, at the same time as he was shocked, he also felt a profound sense of defeat. Previously, he had easily fought across 2 realms. But now against a single divine venerate tree demon, he had to flee miserably. In truth, you don't need to be depressed about this. This is due to the different eras. The Primal Chaos era was the peak era of the 9 heavens and 10 lands, and everything started going downhill from then on. Although there was a resurgence at the end of every era afterward, it was nothing more than a tiny bump in the process of decline. The 9 heavens and 10 lands have been declining all this time. If we were to compare it to a ladder, then your generation would be at the bottom of the ladder. You simply weren't born in the right era. Having someone like you from the end of this declining era fight across realms against a life form with an immemorial bloodline is fundamentally unfair," consoled the Earth Cauldron, who had seen through his thoughts. "Although I can understand the principle, I'm still not happy about it. Actually, it's not that I couldn't beat it. I just don't have a good weapon." Long Chen shook his head. At this time, Dragonbone Evilmoon's figure reappeared in his mind. Back then, with Evil Moon in his hand, he had felt heroic and domineering. But that was all meaningless now that he didn't have a usable weapon. After recovering, Long Chen thought of returning to face the ghost camphor tree demon again. He had been caught off guard back then and forgotten that he had another terrifying trump card to use against it, the Primal Chaos Space's black soil. As long as he could set up a trap with its low intelligence, he had a high chance of killing it. However, the Earth Cauldron told him that the ghost camphor tree demon was crafty and cautious. After expending a significant amount of its energy and sustaining injuries during their previous encounter, it would undoubtedly be in hiding once more. Even in its peak state, it rarely fought people head-on, let alone now that it was injured. Other than that, Long Chen had taken the Great Sun Sunflower, so there was no longer any point in him going back there. According to the Earth Cauldron, after recovering, it would probably sneak attack other lifeforms to take over whatever precious treasure they were guarding. To use the Earth Cauldron's words, "You already took their treasure, so what were you so bitter about?" Thinking about it, Long Chen had to agree. Although the ghost camphor tree demon had attacked him first, he had also taken its Great Sun Sunflower. It had paid its debt. Speaking of the Great Sun Sunflower, Long Chen hastily checked the Primal Chaos Space. He saw that the Great Sun Sunflower was shining brightly, brimming with vitality. Long Chen saw that the seeds had turned yellow and were rapidly maturing. He took one and examined it closely. The seed looked like it was made of gold, covered in beautiful lines like it was an intricately carved ornament. As soon as he took off the shell, a fragrant smell filled the air. Without hesitation, he tossed the seed into his mouth. The moment he sank his teeth into it, a burst of exquisite flavor flooded his palate, making him drool, and the fragrance flowed through him, going into his mind and his dantian. At the same time, he felt his blood chi instantly reach a peak. He was now akin to a lively dragon filled with energy. This really is a natural divine pill. Fuck. If I had known that this thing was so miraculous, I would have eaten a few back then and crushed the ghost camphor tree demon. Long Chen slapped his leg in regret. Long Chen found that sometimes he was really foolish. He had to use his brain more. If he had managed to kill the ghost camphor tree demon, he would have been able to take its corpse. What a loss of a priceless treasure. Long Chen checked and found a total of 999 seeds. He took them all, and the flower immediately withered. That was fine, as he directly planted 500 of the seeds. However, they didn't immediately start germinating like Long Chen had expected. After thinking about it, Long Chen found that this was normal. After all, this was a legendary treasure, the Great Sun Sunflower. It only made sense for its growth to be extremely slow. As long as he could obtain enough corpses, its seeds would rapidly grow in the Primal Chaos Space. Crack. Long Chen tossed another seed into his mouth. It really is delicious. It's addicting. Just one seed was enough to reinvigorate Long Chen and make him feel like he was in his peak condition. Realizing the danger, he hastily put the rest away, refusing to let himself eat another one. If he were to just eat them all like this, it would be a complete waste. The Great Sun Sunflower really is valuable. Your luck isn't bad. With it, you can refine even higher-tier medicinal pills, praised the Earth Cauldron. Clearly, even the Earth Cauldron viewed the Great Sun Sunflower as a treasure. As Long Chen could grow them like a farmer, he'd have a sunflower field soon. Eating just 2 seeds already made Long Chen feel like he was in his peak state and full of energy. He immediately set off once more. However, he was more careful now. He had encountered a terrifying tree demon from the beginning, so there had to be even more terrifying existences in the way. As Long Chen pressed forward, his heart suddenly tightened. He could sense a pair of eyes watching him from within the mist. Long Chen's heart skipped a beat. Within this mist, he couldn't see the appearance of the master of those eyes, but the other side could see him clearly. While this didn't mean that this life form was necessarily stronger than Long Chun, this was its territory, and it had already noticed Long Chun. If they were to fight, it would be hard for Long Chun to get an upper hand against it. Unlike the tree demon, this mysterious monster refrained from launching an attack on Long Chun. It seemed to think that Long Chun was not to be trifled with. Such a strong perception showed that its power was definitely above the tree demon's. Long Chun walked along the border of its territory, and as expected, it didn't attack him. Long Chun continued beyond it and started to encounter many terrifying lifeforms. Their auras were all much stronger than the tree demons. In fact, Long Chun had the urge to retreat after sensing them. Although Long Chun couldn't see the lurking lifeforms within the mist, their terrifying auras were palpable to his senses. Navigating cautiously, he traveled through the borders of their territories. Those lifeforms also detected Long Chun's presence, but they only gazed at him vigilantly or occasionally let out a low growl. However, none of them attacked him. How dangerous! Long Chun walked through this dangerous land for 3 days. The further he went, the more chills he got. Every single one of them gave him a sense of mortal danger. If Long Chun were to fight them together, he realized that even 100 lives would not suffice for him to escape the perilous situation. However, for the Nirvana scripture, Long Chun braved this danger. On the 7th day, the mist gradually faded away, revealing a clear world. When Long Chun gazed into the distance, he was shocked to see a hidden temple in this land. This was an incredibly vast temple. However, the majority of it was in ruins. The roof had collapsed, and there were broken walls all around. However, even those fallen bricks, broken walls, and shattered tiles were unable to cover up this temple's sacred air. Though now in a state of collapse, the structure retained an aura of divinity and sanctity that instinctively inspired reverence in anyone who saw it. Long Chun couldn't explain it, but a sense of melancholy washed over him as he looked at the fallen temple. Within Long Chun's mind, a vivid image appeared. Towering palaces standing majestically amidst a bustling scene of activity. Countless figures streamed in and out of the temple, their voices raised in chanting. Long Chun could almost discern the harsh chiding of teachers and the private gossip of the disciples. It was as if he had been transported through time, witnessing the vibrant past of the temple. Yet, as swiftly as it had appeared, the image started to fade, replaced by the stark reality of its current state. One of desolation and decay. "Have I been here before?" murmured Long Chun as he looked at these ruins. Long Chun experienced a sensation akin to that of a traveler returning to their hometown after many years, only to find the familiar blue sea transformed into mulberry fields. Everything seemed unchanged yet distinctly different. It was such an indescribable feeling. He carefully crept through the forest. When he neared the temple, the temperature of the air abruptly spiked, enveloping Long Chun in an oppressive heat reminiscent of a blazing pill furnace. Startled, Long Chun instinctively took a step back, and as he did so, the intense heat dissipated instantaneously, leaving him in a state of bewilderment. An invisible barrier seemed to divide the space here. It was such a stark contrast. One step forward led him into a searing furnace, while one step back brought him to a peaceful world. Long Chun once more stepped into the domain of the temple. Despite the waves of heat assaulting him, Long Chun found the sensation oddly comforting. Pressing onward, Long Chun marveled at the temple's vastness, which dwarfed even an entire prefecture in size. As he traversed the maze of broken rocks, he felt incredibly minuscule. Carefully navigating his way, Long Chun spent the majority of the day before finally reaching the temple's entrance. Standing before a collapsed wall, he observed the remnants of what used to be an imposing gate, now mostly in ruins. Without hesitation, he made his way through a crack in the wall to enter the temple grounds. Once he stepped through the wall, he instantly sensed the heat soar once more. The flame energy within the temple grounds seemed more vibrant and lively than ever before, enveloping him in its intense heat. "Refining pills here would be very convenient," murmured Long Chun as he sensed the thrumming flame fluctuations. The flame energy here was so lively, yet it wasn't violent, leading Long Chun to think that refining pills would be easier in this location. Regretfully, he didn't have time to do so right now. Setting aside this thought, he carefully resumed his exploration until he saw a collapsed palace ahead. The once majestic structure now lay in ruins, its roof resting on the ground like a fallen giant calmly sinking into the swamp of time. Long Chun surveyed the surroundings for a while, and only saw the broken brick pillars of the temple around the area. Not sensing any danger, he proceeded cautiously. What's going on? Even if the treasures are already taken, there should be marks left behind, no? Long Chun immediately sensed something off. There was nothing here, as if someone had emptied it before it collapsed. Long Chun examined one of the pillars. With the slightest bit of force, he directly crushed it. Its divine energy has long since vanished along with the protection runes, but it's still able to resist the erosion of time. Just what kind of energy protects them? Looking at the powder in his hand, Long Chun found this hard to believe. Although he didn't know the origin of this temple, its aura conveyed an unimaginable history. Long Chun didn't dare to walk around rashly, so he just circled around the outer region, hoping to find any minuscule clues that might shed light on the temple's past. Regretfully, the majority of these buildings had already collapsed, and based on their appearance, their collapse seemed like a natural process rather than the result of violence. Despite his thorough search within and around the structures, Long Chun found no valuable discoveries to speak of. However, Long Chun found quite a few signs of people who had gone through this place. Clearly, he was not the first to arrive here, but it didn't seem like they had found anything of value. Long Chun was in no rush to go to the core region, as he felt a mysterious call from the surroundings. As Long Chun flipped through hundreds of collapsed buildings, his heart suddenly jolted with anticipation. Arriving at the front of a building, he started to dig out the broken tiles with his hands. Like a mole digging a hole, Long Chun dug deep underground. After dozens of miles, he suddenly ran into a thick underground wall that prevented him from going any deeper. This wall had divine runes flowing across its surface, indicating its formidable nature. Determined to breach it, Long Chun retrieved an eternal divine weapon and thrust it into the wall with all his might. However, to his dismay, the weapon snapped upon impact, failing to make a dent in the impenetrable structure. "Senior, help me out." Long Chun took out the earth cauldron. This time, the earth cauldron agreed to aid him and lightly struck the wall. With a light sound, the runes on the wall dimmed, and spider web-like cracks emerged, covering the once formidable barrier. A gentle push from Long Chun reduced the wall to powder, revealing a secret chamber beyond. The wall, as it turned out, wasn't thick, only a foot wide. Once he was through the wall, he arrived in an underground room, very likely a secret chamber. It wasn't too large, only a few meters in width. Nestled in one corner was a skeleton, likely that of a woman, cradling a book in her bony hands. Despite the woman having long since turned into a skeleton, the book remained perfectly intact. Was she the one calling me? Long Chun went to the skeleton, filled with suspicions. Once he arrived here, that feeling of being summoned faded. Long Chun slowly reached out for the book in her hand, but the earth cauldron stopped him and said, "This book can only stay in her hand. The moment it leaves her hand, it will instantly turn to dust." Hearing this, Long Chun hastily stopped. Instead, he slowly turned the book to the first page. A powerful surge of blood chi instantly struck Long Chun, shaking him. This aura unmistakably emanated from the essence blood of a sage king. To his surprise, the skeleton before him had once been a sage king herself. Furthermore, when Long Chun saw the characters on the page, his heart tightened. They were blood-colored immortal characters. "I never thought that my most respected, most revered Lord Brahma would one day betray the Pill Sovereign. My world has collapsed. This is about Lord Brahma? Does this place have the Pill Sovereign's legacy?" wondered Long Chun in shock. The moment he read those characters, they started to fade, as if some energy was erasing them. Long Chun hastily flipped to the second page, expecting to find more characters, but instead, he was greeted by a blood-colored portrait. It was a portrait of a flower. When Long Chan saw that flower, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Jewel blood jade orchid." The picture appeared to be intricately drawn with blood. Yet despite the passage of countless years, it remained bright and vivid. Long Chun instantly recognized it as the jewel blood jade orchid. This wasn't the first time Long Chun had encountered an image of the jewel blood jade orchid. Back at the High Firmament Academy within the Pill Institute's Divine Palace, he had also come across it. In the mortal world, following Yu Qingshuan's sacrifice to shield Long Chun from an attack, the jewel blood jade orchid materialized and seemed to whisk her away. Now, with the reappearance of the jewel blood jade orchid, Long Chun suspected that he had stumbled upon a profound secret. When Long Chun flipped to the next page, he found that there were only 2 pages in this book. Moreover, the image of the jewel blood jade orchid didn't fade away like the words on the first page. Suddenly, Long Chun had a thought. Pressing on his forehead, he extracted a single drop of his essence blood and placed it on the jewel blood jade orchid's picture. When his essence blood touched the picture, it seemed to come to life. All of a sudden, flower petals appeared in the air, and the world around Long Chun instantly became a majestic palace. Before Long Chun could get a good look at his surroundings, a sharp blade cut through the palace, accompanied by a rain of blood. Long Chun also saw a white-robed man being stabbed through the chest. He was right beside Long Chun, his gaze fixed ahead, brimming with hatred and resentment. He let out a hysterical howl. "Gan Luo, you dared to betray the Pill Sovereign." Following the white-robed man's line of sight, Long Chun saw a middle-aged man in golden robes staring back at the white-robed man. To Long Chen's surprise, this person's aura was incomparably powerful, resembling that of a flame god. Merely gazing upon him caused Long Chen's soul to ache as if it were scorched by flames. This middle-aged man was incomparably terrifying. With a sneer, he retorted, "The Pill Sovereign does not have the ability to unite the people. If even Lord Brahma has revolted, as his disciple, how could I not follow him? I don't believe it. Why would Brahma betray the Pill Sovereign?" roared the white-robed man. "Pitiful child, I can't be bothered to explain it to you. Go in peace." With a swift movement of his blade, the middle-aged man unleashed an explosive burst of power, reducing his opponent into fragments. As the dust settled, Long Chun saw a figure appear with a flash. "Life Hunter Race," Long Chun exclaimed. Although he barely saw an image, he was familiar with their aura, as it was identical to Ying Tian's. The only difference was that this person's aura was even more reserved and frightening than that of Ying Tian. "Kill everyone who isn't from Lord Brahma and fallen Day Night side," shouted the middle-aged man. The entire palace quivered. Furious roars, curses, and cries mixed together but drowned out by the sound of sharp blades cutting through flesh. It was a one-sided slaughter. Some people were talking with their friends when others suddenly stabbed them. A lot of them died without even knowing what was happening. Long Chun gritted his teeth furiously, an inexplicable sensation coursing through him as he witnessed the carnage unfold. It was as though the blades slicing through the bodies of the fallen were also piercing his own flesh. The fury and resentment of those people as they died crashed into him like a tsunami. Long Chun couldn't help but let out a heaven-shaking roar. "You traitors!" Long Chen's eyes blazed scarlet, perhaps due to the awakening of the Pill Sovereign's memories. Consumed by madness, he stepped through the air and sent a fist at the middle-aged man. Regretfully, Long Chen's fist passed right through the man as the latter was just a projection. They were separated by the river of time and space. However, the middle-aged man seemed to sense something after this attack. Frantically scanning his surroundings, he detected nothing amiss but swiftly ordered everyone to regroup. As the chaos subsided, Long Chun observed that, aside from the spilled blood, the structures remained unscathed, unaffected by the fierce battle that had transpired. Under the command of the middle-aged man called Gan Luo, the group gathered in a specific hall. It was the highest and loftiest part of this palace. With a wave of his hand, Gan Luo activated 4 pillars of light at the corners of the hall, sending them soaring into the heavens. He then started to form some hand seals and chant the 6th volume of the Nirvana scripture. Long Chun hastily suppressed his fury and focused on memorizing every syllable and hand seal. So that's the case. The 6th volume's syllables must change with the hand seals. No wonder I could never get it to work. Seeing the hand seals, Long Chun instantly understood and memorized the part of the Nirvana scripture that Ganluo was using. Long Chun had already spent a great deal of effort studying the Nirvana scripture and trying to get the 6th volume to work for him, missing a single step. After comprehending this one step, everything became easy. After Ganluo was done chanting, his hand seals changed once more, and the 4 pillars of light weaved together, forming a giant net that bound this place. Following Ganluo's actions, a giant immortal character emerged and descended from the heavens, landing upon the gate of the hall with resounding force. Glowing with radiant intensity, the character took the form of a giant Brahma symbol. As the Brahma symbol illuminated the surroundings, an array of countless chains materialized, sealing this entire hall. It's Lord Brahma's seal. Long Chun instantly saw through Ganluo's intentions. With the formation of this seal, it instantly sucked the world's power dry. Boom! The image then vanished, and Long Chun reappeared in front of the skeleton. Suddenly, the ancient book quivered, and to Long Chun's astonishment, the jewel blood jade orchid's image rose out of the page and merged into Long Chun's palm. With the jewel blood jade orchid imprinted onto Long Chun's palm, the ancient book disintegrated into dust, and the skeleton followed suit. Before Long Chun now lay a pile of dust. Could it be that what was calling to me was the jewel blood jade orchid? Long Chun looked at the image on his palm, unable to shake the feeling that every event leading up to this moment had been meticulously orchestrated, with the jewel blood jade orchid serving as the key to unraveling the truth behind the temple's destruction. Regretfully, no one answered Long Chun. The only one who could have provided answers was now naught but dust. Other than a short record and this brief memory, the owner of the book left nothing else behind. Perhaps what she had left behind was the hatred, resentment, and disbelief of the people who had perished. With a heavy heart, Long Chun bowed to the remnants of the experts and then walked out of this secret room, his determination unwavering as he set his sights on the core region of the temple. He quickly saw a sacred and majestic hall. However, when he saw a group of people in front of it, his killing intent instantly exploded. In front of the temple, hundreds of 7-star doyens from the 3-eye race stood guard, fully locking down the entrance. Amidst them, a woman encased in chains of flame caught Long Chun's attention. This woman was none other than Yu Qingxian. Her heavenly rainbow flame was blazing around her, forming multiple layers of shields that were blocking the flame chains. In response, the 3-eye experts were forming hand seals and chanting the Nirvana scripture. As the group chanted, the temple started to tremble ominously. Their flames surged higher, and ancient runes danced around the chains. With each passing moment, the chains tightened, exerting relentless pressure on Yu Qingxian's barriers. Foolish human, give up now and submit to the slave mark. That's your only chance of getting out alive. Well, give you to the divine sun. As for whether you live or die, it'll be up to your luck. The 3-eye experts shouted their demands as they saw that Yu Qingxian was about to be captured. However, their chanting slowed slightly as they wanted to capture her alive. Yu Qingxian seethed with anger. Never had she anticipated that this temple would turn out to be a trap. The instant she approached it, countless chains sprang forth. She would have been able to dodge all the chains, but then these 3-eye experts thwarted her effort. They had conjured a flame net that seamlessly merged with the flame chains of the temple, instantly trapping her and leaving her with no chance to escape. Foolish woman, if you're going to be so stubborn, don't blame us for being merciless. Just as that 3-eye expert spoke, before they could even do anything, a resounding dragon cry echoed through the air. In a blur of movement, a dragon tail lashed out, instantly turning them into blood mist. Long Chun, Yu Qingxian exclaimed in relief as she caught sight of his figure emerging from the dissipating mist. However, her joy quickly turned to concern as she cried out, "Don't come any closer. This temple is a trap." Ignoring her warning, Long Chun rushed forward and seized the chains in front of her. With a deafening roar, an explosion ensued, and Long Chun was forcefully propelled backward, crashing into a nearby building with devastating force. Dazed and battered, Long Chun almost spat out blood. Long Chun, you have to run while you can. There are definitely more people. Yu Qingxuan's urgent plea was cut short as her focus wavered, causing one of her protective barriers to shatter under the relentless assault. With only 2 shields remaining, she found herself struggling to even summon the strength to speak as the flame chains constricted around her. Enraged by this sight, Long Chun roared with determination, a cascade of stars enveloping him as he prepared to charge forward once more. "Fool! Use your right hand," scolded the earth cauldron. Startled, he suddenly thought of the jewel blood jade orchid image in his right palm. When Long Chun placed his right hand on top of the flame chains, his hand only felt warm, and the jewel blood jade orchid image lit up. Boom! The chains ensnaring Yu Qingxian abruptly exploded, eliciting expressions of relief from both her and Long Chun. Without hesitation, he directly grabbed her and pulled her away from this trap. Before Long Chun could go far, the surrounding space collapsed around them, engulfing them in a swirling vortex. The next moment, Long Chun and Yu Qingxian appeared in a large hall. Ignoring their surroundings, he immediately turned to Yu Qingxian, concern etched on his face as he asked, "Are you all right? Are you injured somewhere?" Seeing how concerned Long Chun was, Yu Qingxian hugged him tightly. Long Chun was startled by this response but immediately held onto her tightly. In his mind, everything was all right as long as she was fine. "Long Chun, when are you going to get smarter? Don't be so reckless. I was scared to death just now." Holding Long Chun tightly, Yu Qingxian finally started crying. She had shouted at Long Chun to leave. While she knew that he wouldn't leave, at the very least, he should have known that this place was a trap. At that time, Long Chun seemed to have gone crazy and didn't care about anything, charging forward regardless of anything. While Yu Qingxian was moved, she was also worried for him. "I'm usually very cool-headed about these things, but when I see you in danger, my head just stops working." Long Chun scratched his head with embarrassment. In truth, it was just as he said. The instant he witnessed Yu Qingxian in peril, rational thought fled from his mind. At that moment, nothing else mattered to him but ensuring her safety. If it hadn't been for the Earth Cauldron's reminder, he would still be struggling with the chains. Thinking back to it, he really was a fool. Yu Qingxian bit her lip, her eyes full of warmth as she looked at Long Chun. After all, he was her whole world. This place is... Only now did Long Chun and Yu Qingxian pause to survey their surroundings, taking in the grandeur of the temple hall that enveloped them. Suddenly, the entire hall lit up. Runes on the bricks, pillars, and roof lit up like stars, casting the hall in a holy light. Long Chen's gaze turned to the front where they saw a divine statue. However, a tremor coursed through Long Chun as he laid eyes upon it. "It's her." Before them stood a statue of a woman, seated gracefully upon a lotus throne with her hands delicately positioned in front of her chest, palms upturned as if cradling something within. Her slender fingers resembled the petals of a lotus in full bloom, and it seemed that she was holding something. Although her eyes were closed, it did not change her peerless beauty. She was like a goddess who stood at the peak of the world, and everyone who saw her could only look up and revere her. Long Chun had never seen this statue before, but he had encountered this woman in person. He recalled the profound love, gentleness, and warmth that radiated from her presence when he had spoken to her in person. Looking at this statue, Long Chun was overcome with a bitter sense of longing. He ached to see her in the flesh, rather than as an immutable sculpture frozen in time. Yet, alongside this yearning, a harsh reality shattered his heart. He knew that she was gone forever, never to return. To his astonishment, the jewel blood jade orchid suddenly left his palm and slowly floated toward her hands. In a sudden turn of events, the hands of the statue started to tremble, and a vivid jewel blood jade orchid materialized within its grasp. Unlike the imprinted image on Long Chen's palm, this orchid seemed imbued with vibrant life, exuding an aura of vitality. As the living jewel blood jade orchid ignited, golden flames erupted, enveloping every corner of the hall in a divine glow. The air also resonated with sacred chants, filling the space with an ethereal melody that echoed throughout the hallowed chamber. "It's the Nirvana scripture," Long Chun and Yu Qingxian exclaimed at the same time. The resonant chanting permeated the air, carrying a blend of gentleness, solemnity, and warmth from the woman's voice. Yet beneath it lay an undercurrent of power, pride, and unwavering determination. "This is the first volume of the Nirvana scripture. But why is it different from the one we learned?" wondered Yu Qingxian. Just like Long Chun, Yu Qingxian had also learned the Nirvana scripture. Despite their different paths in obtaining it, they had found their scriptures to be identical. However, as they stood in the presence of the scripture before them, they were astounded to discover that it bore stark differences from what they had previously learned. The familiar verses had undergone countless changes and transformations, transcending mere solemnity and holiness. The scripture now exhibited a myriad of tones, sometimes resonant and powerful, at other times deep and weighty, occasionally majestic and imbued with strength, and yet other times gentle and warm. A single line of the scripture could go through 100 changes, and sometimes a single word would have unfathomable transformations. Long Chun was puzzled at first, but he and Yu Qingxian quickly focused on fully memorizing what they were hearing. Suddenly, amidst the ethereal chanting and the transformative presence of the scripture, another figure appeared in the hall. It was Huolinger. Hearing the chanting, she flew out of the primal chaos space to join Long Chun and Yu Qingxian. "Huolinger, as a flame spirit, the literal scripture may not be necessary for you. Instead, focus on discerning the changes in tone and the fluctuations in its flame energy. We can compare each other's understanding later," Long Chun transmitted to her, recognizing her unique affinity with fire. Hearing the resounding verses of the scripture, Long Chun suddenly had a profound realization. What they had learned so far was merely an introduction to the Nirvana scripture. It had been a monotonous rendition, unchanging from start to finish. Now, Long Chun knew that every syllable of the Nirvana scripture had countless transformations. The slightest change in tone and inflection could bring forth a different effect. Though he couldn't fully comprehend the profound principles behind these changes, he had to do his best to memorize them. He could just study them later when he had time. Yu Qingxian was thinking the same thing. The two of them were memorizing as much as they could, and they would verify their versions afterward. With Huolinger by their side, Long Chen's confidence soared. While Huolinger might not be able to comprehend the scripture itself, being a flame spirit endowed her with unparalleled sensitivity to the fluctuations of the flame energy of the world. Thanks to that, she could detect the fluctuations accompanying the shifts in the chanting tone. This was definitely an area Long Chun and Yu Qingxian couldn't match her in. As the chanting resonated through the hall, it went through the first volume, second volume, third volume. Long Chun was like a parched land soaking in fresh rainwater, doing his best to absorb as much as he could. Every syllable struck his mind like lightning, imprinting one mysterious rune after another. Following that, he saw an unprecedented world before him. He had been a frog at the bottom of a well before, but when he heard this chanting, he saw a vast sky. Every word and syllable seemed to embody the essence of the world's flame element. At this moment, Long Chun fully understood how the white-robed man had delivered such a devastating blow with a mere projection clone. Just as the Earth Cauldron said, the Nirvana scripture Long Chun understood so far was only the tip of the iceberg. Long Chun was finally seeing it in its entirety. When the fifth volume unfolded, Long Chun, Yu Qingxian, and Huolinger started to form hand seals in unison, spurred by the sound of the chanting. Remarkably, their hand seals were completely different. Yu Qingxuan's motions were extremely graceful and beautiful, resembling a blooming lotus. Flame runes danced elegantly in her palm, casting a radiant glow on her face. Her aura bore a resemblance to that of the divine statue. Huolinger, on the other hand, executed her seals with deliberate slowness, as if she was clumsy and being careful. However, every time she completed a seal, a strange rune would appear in her palm, imbued with the essence of flowing lava. Each of these runes emanated a profound, majestic power capable of unleashing destruction upon the world. Yu Qingxian effortlessly completed 7 or 8 runes within a single breath, her movements fluid and precise. In contrast, Huolinger crafted only 1 rune during the same interval. However, Long Chen's hands moved with unparalleled speed, akin to lightning. His wrists contorted, fingers flickering like bolts of electricity, as he formed over 1,000 seals within the span of a breath. He relinquished control over his own fingers as they danced. Countless runes quivered between his hands, forming a twisting space. Within this vortex, flame runes arranged themselves into orderly chains of different colors, and each chain represented a different kind of flame. As Long Chen's hands continued their dance, these chains shattered and fused in a perpetual cycle of creation and dissolution. Long Chen seemed to have entered an enlightened state, forgetting himself and the rest of the world. He couldn't even focus on memorizing the scripture anymore. As the scripture continued, Long Chen's hand seals accelerated, the gap between his hands widening. Within this expanding space, an endless array of chains formed and shattered in an unceasing rhythm. Annihilation, rebirth. Annihilation, rebirth. Order is made to be broken. From its shattered remnants, order is reconstructed. Thus, the cycle begins anew. Can the course of this cycle really be changed by a single person? The earth cauldron observed silently, emitting a sigh that resonated with a sense of helplessness yet tinged with a hint of anticipation. Boom! Suddenly, the twisted gap between Long Chen's hands exploded, and the sacred chanting resounding in the hall came to a stop. Long Chen, what happened? Yu Qingxian suddenly cried out and grabbed Long Chen, whose hands were a bloody pulp now. His eyes brimmed with chilling, primal killing intent, as if a fiend from the depths of hell had awoken within him. His violent will to destroy everything filled Yu Qingxian with terror. After Yu Qingxian cried out, the violent will faded. Long Chen, in disbelief, gazed at his hands, only to realize that he could no longer recall what had just happened. What volume of the Nirvana scripture did we get to? Asked Long Chen. The 7th, answered Yu Qingxian. Damn, I can't remember anything after the 5th volume. Teach me later. Long Chen smiled bitterly. He couldn't understand how he had lost focus just now. His head blank. Crack. Startled, Long Chen and Yu Qingxian jerked their heads toward the statue, only to find cracks across its surface. The next moment, the entire hall shook ominously. This place is going to collapse, exclaimed Yu Qingxian. Suddenly, a thunderous roar reverberated above the collapsing hall. You damn bastards! How dare you destroy the temple? Get out here and face your death. Who is that? Asked Yu Qingxian. Yu Qingxian was startled. Just from that voice, she could sense explosive flame energy, as well as the tone of the Nirvana scripture. It's Lord Brahma's disciple, Long Chen answered, his voice laced with a simmering fury. If my suspicions are right, he must be after this place. The temple was sealed by Lord Brahma himself, serving as bait to lure unsuspecting outsiders. With his seal in place, anyone who touched it would be like a fish caught in a net. Now he knew why he had felt something calling to him here. Had he not found the skeleton and obtained the jewel blood jade orchid, he wouldn't have been able to break Lord Brahma's seal. Although Long Chen didn't know the exact details, he knew there was some powerful karma at play, guiding him right to this place. The outer barrier bore Lord Brahma's seal, imbued with his will. Long Chen had first-hand experience of its overwhelming power when he rescued Yu Qingxian. Its force was insurmountable. At his current level, breaking through it was impossible. As Lord Brahma's disciple, this white-robed man was very likely here to undergo some trial, but he was in no rush to get here, knowing that no one else could break the seal. That was why he only had medicine slaves guarding this place, patiently awaiting unsuspecting prey to fall into his trap. Meanwhile, he busied himself hunting the surrounding beasts for their medicinal ingredients, all while contemplating how to track down Long Chen. However, he had never dreamed that Long Chen would come to the temple and even manage to break into the hall. What should we do? Asked Yu Qingxian. The hall was collapsing, and it wouldn't be long before it completely caved in. With Lord Brahma's barrier in place and the white-robed man outside, both of them were essentially trapped here. Just then, the statue disintegrated, along with the golden lotus throne. Just as the throne collapsed, a golden sacred light illuminated the hall. This is... Long Chun stared in disbelief at a golden lotus seed. At the same time, the golden lotus seed in the primal chaos space quivered and flew out on its own accord. Buzz. The two golden lotus seeds merged, their union giving rise to a new seed that flickered between solid and illusory. Around this enigmatic seed, countless scripture characters materialized, intertwining to form intricate chains. It's the Nirvana scripture. The chains seemed to be made of the Nirvana scripture's characters. Suddenly, the golden lotus seed vanished and reappeared in the primal chaos space, shining like a blazing sun inside. In an instant, the entire primal chaos space brimmed with life, and Long Chun even sensed the air of laws appearing in the primal chaos space. It seemed to have its own laws now. Boom! As Long Chen's golden lotus seed absorbed the golden lotus seed within the lotus throne, the entire hall disintegrated and collapsed instantaneously. Die! At this time, space itself contorted and twisted, revealing the white-robed man, whose face twisted with fury. He lunged at Long Chun with such animosity that it seemed as if Long Chun had desecrated his ancestral tomb. "I'll smash your dog head today." Long Chen's own fury ignited upon seeing the white-robed man. Scales covered him as he summoned his divine ring. His starry sea quivered, resounding with the roar of a dragon that shook the heavens. With all his might, he unleashed a devastating punch. Boom! Both Long Chun and the white-haired man grunted and fell back. "How dare you destroy my trial? You even stole my treasures. You shameless thieves. Go to hell." The white-robed man's face twisted even further when he saw that the statue and the lotus throne had vanished. Swiftly, he formed hand seals and started to chant. The next moment, the entire hall vanished, and Long Chun found himself back in the outside world, encased within a translucent barrier bound by innumerable flame chains. He was trapped, akin to a bird in a cage. Through the cracks, Long Chun could see that even the ruins of the temple had disintegrated into dust. It seemed that once he took the golden lotus seed, this world was no longer able to stop the onslaught of time and finally broke down. Suddenly, the space within the barrier twisted, condensing into flame arrows. Long Chen's soul quivered. Without hesitation, he summoned lightning wings upon his back and lunged toward the white-robed man. Cloud Dragon Immolation Claw. As a dragon cry resonated through the air, a giant dragon claw stretched out of Long Chen's divine ring. When the dragon claw was about to reach the white-robed man, a pair of giant hands appeared in front of the white-robed man, blocking Long Chen's attack. What? These two translucent hands radiated with swirling runes. A sacred and majestic aura then filled the air, as if a god had descended. "It's Lord Brahma's power. You damn little ant. My master left me 3 priceless treasures in this trial. The first one was his Brahma divine power, the second one was the original Nirvana scripture, and the last one was that golden lotus seed." The white-robed man spat out his words through the gap between his teeth. "So that's the case. I already took 2 of the priceless treasures. Brahma's power is worthless to me, so I'm happy with what I have." Long Chin snickered. Seeing the white-robed man's furious expression, he felt unspeakably refreshed. At the same time, he was probing the outer barrier. If he couldn't break it, he and Yu Qingxian would truly be in danger. The jewel blood jade orchid had vanished after sending him in. If he wanted to leave, he would have to rely on himself. This barrier consisted of Lord Brahma's power, so only the white-robed man, as Lord Brahma's disciple, was capable of freely coming and going. If Long Chun wanted to leave, he would have to think of something. Hand over the golden lotus seed. Otherwise, the white-robed man suddenly turned to Yu Qingxian, a lecherous smile appearing on his face. "Fuck your mother." Long Chen's killing intent surged uncontrollably before the white-robed man could utter another word. Swift as lightning, Long Chen materialized in front of him and delivered a vicious slap across his face. The white-robed man never anticipated that Long Chen's attack would surpass the speed of his protective divine light. Long Chen's slap shattered half of his face, sending blood splattering through the air. "Today, I'll show you the true meaning of death," Long Chen bellowed, his voice resonating with raw fury as he launched himself at the white-robed man like a madman. Following Long Chen's furious roar, flames exploded within the barrier as his killing intent burned hotter than any flame. The force of Long Chen's slap was akin to being struck by a hammer, leaving the white-robed man dazed and disoriented for a moment. However, as a peak expert, he swiftly regained his composure. Seeing Long Chen charging toward him, the white-robed man was enraged. As a figure of high status, no one had ever thought of slapping him in the face. This humiliation instantly drove him crazy. "Die!" The white-robed man swiftly formed hand seals as flames surged around him, condensing into a fiery red sword in his grasp. With a swift motion, he slashed at Long Chen. The blade, ablaze with fiery energy, cleaved through the fabric of reality itself, slicing apart the very laws of the world as it advanced toward Long Chen, leaving destruction in its wake. Unflinching, Long Chen stood his ground. With starlight shimmering atop his arms and his dragon scales protecting them, he raised his arms to intercept the incoming strike. Boom! Long Chen's arms shuddered, and bloody scales scattered through the air as he endured the brunt of the attack with his physical body, sustaining injuries in the process. However, Long Chen didn't care. His scarlet eyes blazed with fury, his teeth clenched in a display of unbridled rage. It was as if his killing intent had stripped away his rationality. For Long Chen, Yu Qingxian was his reverse scale, a sacred treasure no one could touch. Hence, the white-robed man's act had pushed Long Chen over the edge. Startled, the white-robed man hadn't expected Long Chen to block his attack with just his arms. Just then, Long Chen's hand snapped onto his sword like 5 hooks. Despite the white-robed man's attempts to retract the weapon, it seemed to have melded with Long Chen's hand, and he couldn't pull it back. With a cold shout, the white-robed man formed seals with his left hand and pressed the left hand onto the back of his right hand, causing flame runes to flow from his palm into the sword. As the flame runes fused with the sword, it transformed into a dark red hue, starting from the hilt, emanating a majestic divine aura. Long Chen's hand emitted smoke, overwhelmed by the intense heat that even he struggled to endure. The scorching sensation seared his skin, but he refused to release his grip. The white-robed man anticipated that Long Chen would immediately let go, leaving him vulnerable to a killing blow. However, to his surprise, Long Chen persisted, his palm igniting with countless stars that clashed fiercely with the white-robed man's sword. On one side of the sword surged flame energy, while astral energy coursed through the other. These two energies merged into the sword at the same time, causing it to rumble. The clash of these two powers inside of it was too much for it to bear. Boom! Without warning, the sword exploded, unable to withstand the intense competition between Long Chen and the white-robed man's powers. Reacting swiftly, the white-robed man retreated to evade the flying fragments. Long Chen, however, paid them no heed, allowing the shrapnel to strike him. He pressed forward, wielding the broken tip of the sword in his hand as he aimed it directly at the white-robed man's throat. Once again, the white-robed man was startled by Long Chen's ferocity. He didn't even have time to react. The sharp tip of the sword sliced through the air, grazing the white-robed man's throat and drawing blood. Long Chen's attack was quick as lightning. He had willingly endured injury to ensure his strike landed, while the white-robed man was distracted by the fragments of the sword. However, the white-robed man was also a powerful expert, relying on his combat instincts to twist his head in time, and the flame runes around him instantly converged in front of his neck to form a shield. This shield mitigated some of the sword's force, resulting in a clean cut but devoid of any explosive power. At this moment, the white-robed man's expression changed. Had he reacted the slightest bit slower, Long Chun would have severed his entire neck. Although that wouldn't kill him, Long Chun would definitely exploit that opening, leaving him with no opportunity to recover. As a peak expert, the white-robed man had defeated plenty of experts in this lifetime. However, none had come as close to nearly killing him in just a few moves as Long Chun. Boom! The flame runes surrounding the white-robed man erupted into a fiery explosion, causing space to contort and twist before he vanished into thin air. Just as he disappeared, the broken tip of the sword became covered in stars and flew through the air. Piercing through the void, the tip of the sword found its target and forced the white-robed man to appear. A splatter of blood marked his appearance, along with a bloody hole in his chest. The white-robed man finally felt fear toward Long Chun, realizing that the person in front of him was not as weak as he had imagined. Now, he knew that Long Chun had the power to kill him. Desperate to create distance between them, the white-robed man had invoked a secret art to flee. However, despite his efforts, he remained ensnared within Long Chun's mental lock, unable to escape the inevitable strike. Like a life-reaping devil, Long Chun shot after his opponent, not giving the white-robed man any chance to recover. Long Chun wanted to kill him as quickly as possible. Brahma's wrath, flame dragons burn the heavens. The white-robed man didn't even have time to treat his injuries. With quick hand seals, he summoned flame dragons from every direction and attack that he had used to grievously wound Long Chun, nearly claiming his life. As the flame dragons materialized, Long Chun suddenly appeared before the white-robed man. With a swift motion, his foot swept out, accompanied by a resounding dragon cry echoing in the air. A dragon tail lashed through the air, its unmatched killing intent causing even the heavens to tremble. What? There's no lock. The white-robed man was horrified to find that the flame dragons he had summoned couldn't lock onto Long Chun. The last time that he had used this move, Long Chun had been firmly locked down. However, this time it failed to have any effect whatsoever. He couldn't believe his eyes or understand what the problem was. Yet, reality offered no opportunity for questioning. Witnessing the dragon tail hurtling toward him, he hastily changed his hand seals. The flame dragons gave up on attacking Long Chun, instead gathering into a shield in front of the white-robed man. 10,000 dragon shield. The white-robed man roared, using the flame dragon shield to block Long Chun's attack. His switch was very fast. Even though he had been forced to switch from offense to defense, his technique was not shoddy in the slightest. Boom! The dragon tail collided with the flame dragon shield, shattering it into pieces with a resounding explosion. The white-robed man grunted in pain as the force of the impact sent him hurtling through the air, crashing into the barrier with a sickening thud. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he struggled to regain his footing. Die! Long Chun's voice thundered with unrestrained fury as he stamped on the void, propelling himself forward with lightning wings ablaze. You want to kill me? Keep dreaming. The white-robed man's face twisted with ferocity. With a roar, he conjured a picture scroll before Long Chun. As Long Chun caught sight of the scroll, his expression shifted, and he swiftly dodged to the side. A beam of divine light burst forth from the scroll, narrowly missing Long Chun as it tore through the void, leaving behind a gaping hole in its wake. Brahma Divine Diagram. Long Chun recognized this scroll. In the mortal world, he had been enemies with Pill Valley and had fought against this divine item several times. Now, he saw it again in the immortal world. The Brahma Divine Diagram was filled with flames, seemingly encompassing an entire world ablaze within its sacred confines. Its divine aura exuded such immense power that it enshrouded the very heavenly Daos themselves. In its presence, souls quivered as if being pricked by needles. It was an existence so overwhelming that it reduced all other life forms to mere ants in its presence. The ray of divine light emitted from the Brahma Divine Diagram had torn through the fabric of reality, creating a black hole right beside Long Chun. Had he been struck by it, the consequences could have been fatal. The white-robed man unleashed a roar and a series of hand seals, causing the Brahma divine diagram to tremble and expand rapidly. Its fiery expanse now enveloped the entire barrier, forming another cage that entrapped them within its confines. He is merging the Brahma divine diagram with the Brahma barrier. Don't fight him and just get out while you can, advised the earth cauldron. It suddenly appeared above Long Chen's head. Upon realizing the purpose of the Brahma divine diagram, Long Chen understood the gravity of the situation. The Brahma divine diagram was used specifically to take this barrier's power. Indeed, Lord Brahma had left his disciple many treasures, having arranged everything beforehand. However, no one had expected Long Chen's interference. If Long Chen were to fight the white-robed man here, he would have to fight Lord Brahma's divine power as well. While Long Chen might not be afraid of the white-robed man, he knew killing someone backed by Lord Brahma's power was almost impossible. Hence, Long Chen simply used the earth cauldron and smashed the barrier and the Brahma divine diagram together. Boom! The earth cauldron blew through the Brahma barrier and the Brahma divine diagram's confine. What? The white-robed man was stunned. At this time, Long Chen was already charging out with Yu Qingxian. As they made their escape, Long Chen suddenly disappeared, prompting a cry of alarm from the earth cauldron. What are you doing? Long Chen had actually returned to the interior of the barrier, charging at the white-robed man. Pow! The white-robed man was still stunned by what he was seeing. Following that, Long Chen delivered a powerful blow, causing half of the white-robed man's face to explode in a burst of blood and gore. He then smashed into the barrier like a shooting star. You shameless thing, if you didn't have Lord Brahma's power backing you, I'd beat you into a pancake today. After slapping him, Long Chen used the recoil force to charge out before the barrier and diagram closed. His timing was perfect. With the earth cauldron above him, Long Chen grabbed Yu Qingxian, and they vanished without a trace. Ah! The white-robed man let out a bestial roar. Simultaneously, the Brahma divine diagram and Brahma barrier seamlessly merged, causing the entire world to tremble as the divine might of the Brahma divine diagram soared to unprecedented heights. Regretfully, their merger was still one step too late. Long Chen had already fled. Long Chen! The white-robed man gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to break. He had never encountered such a bully before. Even after managing to escape, Long Chen had returned just to deliver a humiliating slap to his face, showing him the epitome of humiliation. The Brahma divine diagram spread rapidly, covering the sky. However, Long Chen had fled so far that it was unable to track him. Ah! The white-robed man could only scream, overwhelmed by the humiliation and defeat he had suffered at Long Chen's hands. You fool! When are you going to grow up? Raged the earth cauldron, cursing Long Chen out furiously. Just now, if you were the slightest bit slower, the Brahma divine diagram would have merged with the barrier's Brahma energy, grinding you to dust. Even I wouldn't be able to save you. Don't worry. I had already calculated everything in advance and knew I had the time. Long Chen chuckled mischievously. And besides, just think about that fellow's irritating face. With that expression, with that posture, wouldn't I be letting him down if I didn't slap him? The earth cauldron was speechless. I can't beat your logic. But was there a point in slapping him? Of course there was. If I can't kill someone, I have to crush their spirit. If I can't beat someone, I have to at least wipe some snot on them. I clearly could beat him but couldn't kill him. If I didn't slap him to vent a bit, how am I supposed to live in the future? Replied Long Chen. Long Chen was not happy, so he naturally wouldn't let the white-robed man off. He suddenly said, Senior, would you really be helpless against the Brahma divine diagram after it merges with the barrier's energy? I don't believe it. I'm in a weakened state and have only recovered a trace of my core energy. That trace is incomparably precious. Do you think I'm going to waste that energy on some little fish? Raged the earth cauldron. That's not a small fish. That's Lord Brahma's disciple, argued Long Chen. Disciple? The earth cauldron scoffed. Lord Brahma's disciples are spread throughout the 9 heavens and 10 lands. His titular disciples are as common as grains of sand. What's the point of killing them? Titular disciple? No way, a titular disciple is already that strong. Longchen jumped in shock. No, the person you killed back then, Jialuo, would be considered a titular disciple. This white-robed man has the Brahma divine diagram and was even guided to the treasures here, so he must be a formal disciple. However, even when it comes to formal disciples, there are over 3,000 of them. If he isn't a little fish, what is he? Explained the earth cauldron. 3,000. Longchen was in disbelief. Lord Brahma had 3,000 disciples on this level? Even if he has lived for countless years and accumulated faith energy all this time, he's still only a divine venerate. How can he accumulate so much power? Asked Longchen. A divine venerate was now an existence that could be killed with a wave of his hand. Longchen had originally thought that once he reached the divine venerate realm, no matter how much faith energy Lord Brahma had gathered, he would still be able to go against Lord Brahma. However, after experiencing the power of the Brahma barrier, he was struck by the stark realization that the disparity between him and Lord Brahma was akin to the contrast between heaven and earth. There was simply no comparison. You have been misled by his title. Others call him Divine Venerate Brahma, but did you really think that was because he was in the Divine Venerate realm? Asked the Earth Cauldron. Is it not? Asked Longchen. Of course not. He is called a Divine Venerate because he is a supreme existence amongst gods, a venerate among them. The Earth Cauldron's words were like hammers striking Longchen's heart. A venerate amongst gods? Longchen sucked in a cold breath of air. Now he understood what this title meant. It meant that Lord Brahma was a supreme existence amongst gods, the only one worthy of reverence as a venerate. He reigned as the most formidable god cultivator. Otherwise, he wouldn't bear such a title. The cultivation world of the human race was divided into two major lines: god cultivators and immortal cultivators. Both factions had engaged in constant squabbles throughout history. Immortal cultivators refused to acknowledge god cultivators, saying that the latter relied on their ancestors and subordinates to gain an unfair advantage. For a normal person, going down this path was basically a dead end. After all, a person needed to accumulate faith energy for many generations to advance and pursue this path. Even a minor accomplishment along this path might require millions of years of dedication. Furthermore, during this long period, they had to constantly gather more and more believers, never ceasing in their endeavors. Although the cultivation world teemed with countless god cultivators, inheriting the legacy of a god cultivator was exceedingly difficult due to the extensive time required to amass sufficient faith energy. Conversely, while immortal cultivators also somewhat relied on the accomplishments of their ancestors, at the very least, they needed to work hard for their future. Although these two factions coexisted in the human race's cultivation world, the proportions were lopsided. Immortal cultivators constituted 90% of all cultivators, while god cultivators comprised only 10%. Despite their numerical disadvantage, the god cultivators faction consistently rivaled, and oftentimes surpassed, the strength of the immortal cultivators. This was because god cultivators could leverage the cumulative efforts of past generations. Some god inheritances could even be traced all the way back to the primal chaos era. Given that they had begun accumulating faith energy since the primal chaos era, the extent of their amassed power was simply unimaginable. While immortal cultivators consistently produced countless geniuses who soared like shooting stars, those stars inevitably faded over time. Sometimes they were nothing more than fleeting fireworks. A powerful immortal cultivator might cause one family, one faction, or one sect to rise to glory for a moment. But once that genius fell, their faction would rapidly decline or vanish from history just like that. In comparison, god cultivators were able to sustain themselves for longer. Thus, throughout history, there had been many cases of powerful immortal cultivators turning into god cultivators. On the contrary, some god cultivators experienced decline and lost their inheritance. With no other recourse, they had to transition into immortal cultivators. In the human race, the immortal cultivators looked down on god cultivators, saying that the latter solely relied on their ancestors' legacies and hadn't achieved anything through their own efforts. They labeled it as cheating. However, oftentimes those criticisms carried a hint of jealousy. Due to the powerful foundation that God cultivators possessed, others harbored feelings of envy and resentment toward them. In reality, immortal cultivators were truly at a disadvantage against God cultivators. This was an incontestable fact. A God cultivator's inheritance grew in power as time passed, leading to the existence of many hidden factions that instilled wariness among others. Perhaps some hidden faction would one day emerge with a God legacy dating back from the primal chaos era. Many ancient factions amongst God cultivators were extremely low-key. However, even within all of that, Lord Brahma was called a divine venerate, an existence all gods had to revere. He was absolutely terrifying. Moreover, the title of divine venerate Brahma had existed for countless years already. In other words, no one had been able to shake his position all this time. Otherwise, someone would have challenged him and taken that title for themselves. After thinking through all of this, Long Chun felt cold sweat on his back. Now, he finally understood just how terrifying of an existence Lord Brahma was. Back when he first came to the immortal world, he thought that as long as he could reach the divine venerate realm, he would be able to get his revenge. How unbelievably naive was he then? Simultaneously, Long Chun seethed with rage at the vast disparity. This huge difference enraged him. He wished he could refine some peerless divine pill that could let him challenge Lord Brahma after consuming it. Don't get angry. This is what it means for a journey of 1,000 miles to start with a single step. You cannot just skip to the end. The more you try to rush, the slower you go, said the Earth Cauldron. Long Chun smiled bitterly. Thank you for your teachings. I know those principles. However, I'm just a normal person after all. Unlike Senior, I'm unable to keep a calm heart like water without the slightest ripple. This has nothing to do with being a normal person or not. It's just that you haven't experienced enough, sighed the Earth Cauldron. I haven't experienced enough? Long Chin asked, shaking his head bitterly. Although he was young, he had experienced countless dangers and adventures. He believed he had experienced more than those ancient beings who had lived for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Of course you haven't experienced enough. All you know is fighting and killing. You've only experienced a single season of this world, the season of rain and snow. When you have experienced the passing of eras, the changing of the times, and the rise and fall of heaven and earth, you will find that everything you have experienced is nothing more than a single section in the thick book of history. It doesn't even count as a chapter on its own, said the Earth Cauldron with a sigh, lost in distant memories. Of course, this little one's experiences count for nothing in comparison to you. Long Chin nodded. He really couldn't compare with the Earth Cauldron. The Earth Cauldron grew solemn. I have witnessed this world's most glorious era, only to see it decline step by step, and all I could do was watch. I have seen countless races become this world's master and then get knocked off their throne. Some were wiped out of existence and drowned in the river of history. I have also witnessed peerless geniuses rise like shooting stars, their brilliance illuminating the entire world before fading into darkness. No matter how formidable the cultivator, they were unable to escape the control of fate. To be honest, aside from my first generation master, I have been with several fated companions, and amongst all of them, you are the most. The most talented? Asked Long Chin excitedly. The most stupid. Fuck. This is the truth. I also don't know how you became my companion. When you woke me up, to tell the truth, I was very disappointed, said the Earth Cauldron. Senior, don't you think you're being a bit too mean? Asked Long Chin bitterly. The Earth Cauldron sounded like it was turning its back on him. That was a huge blow to Long Chin. The Earth Cauldron continued, in truth, there were many times I thought that something went wrong somewhere. How did I end up with a companion like you? But as I witnessed you become stupider with time, I finally understood something. I've made a decision. What decision? Long Chin was worried. The Earth Cauldron wouldn't be leaving him, right? I've decided to formally accept you as master. The Earth Cauldron's declaration was like thunder shaking Long Chun. Senior, did I mishear you? Asked Long Chun, his voice quivering. The Earth Cauldron seemed extremely dissatisfied with him, but now it said that it wanted to formally accept him as its master? Long Chun was dumbfounded. What a sudden turn of events. Although the Earth Cauldron had been by Long Chen's side all this time, Long Chun had never thought of becoming its true master. As it was one of the 10 great primal chaos divine items, the kind of individual who could be its master must be of an extraordinary caliber. A mere bandit like himself certainly couldn't bear the weight of such immense responsibility and karma. To tell the truth, you really are stupid. But you have a special quality about you that makes people blindly trust you. Furthermore, no matter what terrible situation you are in, you never give up. It's like you don't know what fear is. When others feel fear, you only feel anger. When you're angry, you always do some foolish things. At first, I suspected that the old monster of the dragon race had gone crazy to actually associate with you and even share its untransmittable secrets, remarked the Earth Cauldron. Are you talking about that senior of the dragon race? Do you know it? Asked Long Chun, his heart pounding hard in his chest. From the Earth Cauldron's tone, it seemed they were acquainted. The Earth Cauldron didn't answer him and instead continued. My past companions were glorious, overflowing with talent and intelligence. Yet none of them had a good end. As for you, you are different. After thinking about it over and over again, I've decided to make a gamble. So, are you willing to take this gamble with me? What are we exactly gambling? Asked Long Chun. We are gambling lives, both mine and yours. We are gambling with the fate of all life within the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Why do we have to gamble? Long Chun couldn't help asking. Because the 9 heavens and 10 lands are on the verge of destruction. I must choose a master and support them with my full power in order to race against time. In truth, you aren't my top choice, but circumstances leave me with no other option but to choose you. The Earth Cauldron explained solemnly. Fully support me? Long Chun was delighted to hear that. Don't get too happy. Your power is too weak. After the master acknowledgement, the karma you face will be absolutely terrifying, and your heavenly tribulation will become even more difficult. You might not be able to endure your next tribulation. I have to make this danger clear. A person's gain depends on how big their guts are. Guts are profit. There's nothing to fear. I will accept this gamble, replied Long Chun directly. Think this through, the Earth Cauldron urged solemnly. There's nothing to think about. You already said that I'm stupid. So how could I think of a better idea? Long Chun responded with a grin. Don't joke about it. This is a path of no return. Once this decision is made, neither you nor myself can go back on it, warned the Earth Cauldron gravely. You are one of the 10 supreme divine items. If even you're willing to gamble your life, how can I not be willing to do so? Said Long Chun. Fine. If that's the case, prepare yourself. I will carry out the ceremony, remarked the Earth Cauldron. Buzz. Even though it told Long Chun to prepare himself, in truth, it didn't give Long Chun any time to do so. The Earth Cauldron hovered above Long Chun's head, shaking intensely. Long Chun then felt his soul come out and brand itself onto the Earth Cauldron. At the same time, the image of a bronze cauldron appeared on Long Chun's forehead, and he sensed a temporary exchange of souls with the Earth Cauldron. During this soul exchange, Long Chun felt a profound sense of weakness, as if his entire cultivation base had been crippled. It reminded him of the time in the Phoenix Cry Empire when he lay in bed after being beaten unconscious. Dejection, humiliation, anger, resentment, countless negative emotions filled his heart. The feeling of weakness drove him to the brink of madness. Long Chun knew that these were the feelings of the Earth Cauldron. As one of the 10 supreme divine items, it was practically at death's door. Hence, the resentment and humiliation it felt could not be described with words. Heaven and earth quivered as the cosmos itself shook, halting the movements of the stars. Every expert within the 9 heavens and 10 lands stared in shock at the sky. Amongst the stars, the image of an enormous cauldron appeared, and there was a vague figure beneath the cauldron. What is that? Screams of terror filled the world as people thought that this was a manifestation of some devil god. They had no idea what it was. Could it be that the legends are true? Are the 9 heavens and 10 lands about to be destroyed? Heaven and earth will flip, and the 10,000 Daos will be destroyed. Can anyone escape this tribulation? asked an elderly expert, his voice quivering with fear. Throughout every corner of the 9 heavens and 10 lands, panic and chaos ensued when this scene appeared. In the High Firmament Academy, an old man who had been tirelessly sweeping the ground for what seemed like an eternity finally set down his broom. Lifting his gaze to the starry sky above, his once clouded eyes cleared instantly, becoming as clear as spring water. It was as though his gaze could penetrate through the very fabric of time and space. A slow smile crept over his face. The manifestation of the heavens. A primal chaos divine item has accepted a master. Long Chun. Hehe. You really aren't a normal little fellow. Long Chun was unaware that this process had caused a huge disturbance within the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, he was slowly merging his soul with the earth cauldrons. The earth cauldron's soul was simply too vast, akin to an ocean, while Long Chun's soul was like a tiny boat. Long Chun could only resonate with a portion of the earth cauldron's spiritual strength. Suddenly, Long Chun shook, and his soul returned to his body. He didn't feel any change in himself. However, the earth cauldron now felt like a part of him. The earth cauldron said, "Master." "Ah, senior. Please don't call me that. You can just call me little fellow like usual." Long Chun jumped at the mention of that word. "I've already accepted you as my master." "Calling you master is very normal," said the earth cauldron. No, it's not normal. It feels very weird. Why don't you just call me by name?" Long Chun hastily waved his hand. Being called master was not something he could get accustomed to. "Alright, then I'll just call you by name. Long Chun, I have formally recognized you as my master. A manifestation will shake the 9 heavens and 10 lands. When the time comes, the monsters of the various races will come to hunt you down like madmen," warned the earth cauldron. "Why? Are they jealous of my looks?" asked Long Chun. Ignoring Long Chun's jest, the earth cauldron continued, "Since I have accepted a master, as long as someone can kill you, I will become a masterless item. But in this state, all they will have to do is place a spiritual seal on me to become my new master." "No way." Long Chun was horrified. Didn't this make him a live target? Furthermore, I would be unable to resist at that time. That's why I said that it was a gamble. There's no turning back anymore. I will bring you to a certain place now. Where? A place you dream of going. The void twisted, and Long Chun found himself in a desolate land alongside the earth cauldron. When Long Chun set foot onto this desolate land, his heart tightened. A profound sense of sorrow welled up within him. The entire area bathed in blood hues, including the walls, ground, and rocks all tinted in shades of crimson. As soon as Long Chun arrived here, the smell of blood struck him, causing his own blood to boil. Rage erupted, coursing through his veins like a torrential flood. His fists clenched with fury, and an overwhelming urge to kill surged through him uncontrollably. Fresh blood dyed this world red. Even after countless years, even after so much wind and rain, the color has not faded at all. Do you feel it? They are your kin, disciples of the 9-star line. Against an endless tide of enemies, they held their ground here for 3 millennia, without reinforcements. Not a single one of the 100,000 9-star disciples surrendered. They fought to the bitter end, dragging down countless enemies with them. Once, the corpses piled so high they reached the heavens. Though time has turned those remains to dust, the blood of the 9-star disciples still stains this land, an enduring testament to their valor. They are the most honorable warriors this world has ever known, declared the earth cauldron, its voice resonating with solemnity and weight, as if it could transport Long Chun back to the ancient era. "Who killed them?" demanded Long Chun furiously. He wanted revenge. Although Long Chun had never met these 9-star disciples, he could feel their blood calling to him. It was just like watching the dragon blood warriors sacrificing themselves. Many were responsible for their deaths: the devil race, demon race, netherworld race, blood race, feather race, shadow race, titan race, wild slaughter race, desolate beast race, goblin race. The earth cauldron listed off hundreds of races, and the majority of them were ones that Long Chun had never heard of. Of course, there was also the human race, added the earth cauldron at the very end. Those damn bastards. They'll make them pay this blood debt, vowed Long Chun through clenched teeth. These are all things of the past. Come, we have important work to do here. Follow me, instructed the Earth Cauldron. Long Chun followed the Earth Cauldron's direction. Walking into this blood-colored world, he saw that someone had destroyed everything here, as if they wanted to erase everything here. Everything here was in ruins. The Earth Cauldron directed Long Chun to clear a path through the wreckage, revealing a remarkably preserved underground passage. Originally, there were murals carved on the two sides. However, they had been destroyed by someone. However, Long Chun then saw a complete mural depicting a devil expert with two wings. It tore at the void, and within the void, a figure was torn apart. Long Chun couldn't see the figure's face, but he could tell that it was a 9-star disciple based on the starry manifestation behind them. Courting death. Long Chun couldn't help roaring furiously. He then punched the mural and destroyed the devil expert's image. The winged devil race dares to humiliate my 9-star line. Don't let me encounter them, or I'll kill every single one of them that I see, swore Long Chun. It went without saying that the winged devil race was amongst those that had attacked the 9-star line. Furthermore, they intentionally left behind this mural to humiliate the 9-star line and show off their accomplishments. After destroying it, Long Chun continued forward and didn't see complete murals anymore. Clearly, many people had charged into this place to destroy their enemies. Not everyone was as bored as the winged devil race and added graffiti. These people had entered this passageway and destroyed the murals. Though Long Chun didn't know their content, he suspected they contained the secrets of the 9-star line. 6 hours of walking and passing through 8 gates later, Long Chun arrived at the end of the passage. While the previous gates had been destroyed, the final gate remained intact, albeit damaged with numerous holes from heavy attacks. However, it appeared the assailants had failed to destroy it. This is the trial land for the 9-star disciples. Haven't you always wanted to know how strong you are amongst 9-star line's disciples? Now, you have your chance, informed the Earth Cauldron. Are you saying? Long Chun was shocked. He couldn't believe his own ears. This place is the highest level trial for the 9-star line's disciples. The first 8 gates could be opened and closed by others, but this final 9th gate cannot be. Once you enter the trial, you can't come back. Either you succeed in your challenge, or you die and the laws inside absorb all your power. Having absorbed the energy of so many 9-star disciples, the gate couldn't be destroyed by the invaders, so they could only leave it as is. That's why everything else here was destroyed, but this place remains intact, explained the Earth Cauldron. Are you telling me to enter the strongest trial? Asked Long Chun. Yes. Inside is a World King Realm 9-star heir. His realm is the same as yours, and he will also activate the 7-star battle armor. What sets him apart is that he's not a real person. He is a heavenly genius whose ranking was 97th back in the 9-star line's most glorious era. Back then, the 9-star line chose to copy his power and use him as a test standard, replied the Earth Cauldron. Only rank 97? Long Chun had originally thought that the expert would rank higher, perhaps even number 1. Only rank 97? The Earth Cauldron practically scoffed at him. Did you know that when the 9-star line was at its peak, it practically unified this world? It was a supreme faction throughout the world. At that time, the 9-star line had trillions of experts. You dare to say only rank 97. Whatever, I can't be bothered to explain it more. You can open the gate and find out just how strong rank 97 is. After Long Chun heard this warning, his guard instantly went up. This rank 97 fellow was definitely a monster. How do I open the gate? Asked Long Chun. Place your hands on it. Do you see the 2 crevices on the gate that are like handprints? Replied the Earth Cauldron. Looking carefully, Long Chun really did find those 2 crevices on the scarred gate. There was so much damage on it that if he didn't look closely, he wouldn't have noticed. Long Chun placed his hands on the gate, and he suddenly shook intensely. His divine ring appeared, as well as his 7-star battle armor. Following that, countless stars lit up on the gate, transforming the gate into a portal to a starry world. In a flash, the gate vanished, leaving Long Chun standing on an ancient martial stage. Across from him stood an apathetic, long-haired man in traditional white robes with a jade belt around his waist. He seemed like a statue with his closed eyes and lack of aura. Yet, as Long Chun looked at him, a sense of dread washed over him, signaling the man's formidable presence. Suddenly, the white-robed man's eyes snapped open, revealing 7 stars flowing within them. Long Chen's senses screamed at him that this was a terrifying existence, and he felt like a desolate beast had locked its gaze on him. His eyes were as clear as a blue starry sky, with 7 stars shining brightly within them. A 7-star divine ring materialized, its 7 sides forming a perfect ring distinct from Long Chen's 7-star diagram with 6 stars surrounding a central star. As those eyes fixed on Long Chen, a terrifying aura locked him down. At the same time, the dome covering the martial stage lit up. The dome was a starry sky with stars flowing within it. They seemed to be the only spectators of this battle. 7-star battle armor. The 9-star disciples' thunderous shout shook the entire martial stage, dimming the stars in the sky. The 7 stars behind him blazed like suns, their light growing increasingly intense until it resembled sharp blades. It was so domineering that Long Chun couldn't even open his eyes. Now, Long Chun could no longer see the 9-star disciple's face and could only perceive his figure. It was as if a god had descended, with the 10,000 Daos kowtowing beneath the 9-star disciple's feet. His aura was so intense that devils and gods alike had to worship him. So this is the true 7-star battle armor. Long Chen's voice quivered, tinged with excitement. Those 7 stars not only illuminated the martial stage but also lit up his future path. For a long time, Long Chun had been struggling to figure out the path forward with the 9-star hegemon body art. He often had nightmares where he failed to choose the right path, leading to a self-explosion. Despite its potential power, Long Chun had only scratched the surface of the 9-star hegemon body art. He felt like a blind man groping around the place, with disaster looming at every misstep. As the 9-star disciple's aura continuously climbed, wild chi waves battered Long Chun relentlessly. Despite his strength, he struggled to hold his ground and was gradually pushed back, his feet scraping against the martial stage. What terrifying power! Long Chun shouted excitedly. The stronger the 9-star disciple was, the happier Long Chun got. What are you so excited about? Hurry up and summon your battle armor. The trial has already started. Don't get killed in one blow. The Earth Cauldron practically cursed its new master upon seeing that he was still in the mood to shout excitedly instead of bracing for the impact. In an instant, the 9-star disciple sprang into action, causing the entire martial stage to quake. Space seemed to distort as his movements blurred. Before Long Chun could react, the disciple had already appeared in front of him, delivering a powerful blow to his abdomen. Boom! The fist solidly struck Long Chun, its power blowing straight through him and causing blood to spray from his mouth. What are you doing? The Earth Cauldron shouted in shock and worry. It had told Long Chun to brace himself, but Long Chun just foolishly stood there. The 9-star air was too fast, and Long Chun didn't put up any defenses. Like this, Long Chun would be dead in less than 10 moves. That wasn't what the Earth Cauldron had expected. Long Chun retreated, but just then, the 9-star disciple appeared behind him like a phantom. Swiftly spinning, his elbow smashed toward Long Chen's back. This 9-star disciple was too fast, his movements appearing as mere blurs. In the midst of falling back, Long Chun was caught off guard and collided with the 9-star disciple's elbow. The impact almost folded him in half. Long Chun flew like a sandbag and flipped across the martial stage, more blood coming out of his mouth. Just as he managed to steady himself, the 9-star disciple's foot aimed for his head, prompting Long Chun to hastily raise his arms in defense. Crack! The sickening crunch of bones echoed as the 9-star disciple's foot shattered Long Chen's arms. It's doomed. My calculations were off. Long Chen's going to die, exclaimed the Earth Cauldron, its voice tinged with despair. The Earth Cauldron suddenly flew out of the primal chaos space, unwilling to stand idly as Long Chun faced certain death. In front of it, the 9-star disciple reappeared, with his palm covered in stars. Before the earth cauldron could intercept the incoming attack, Long Chen inexplicably appeared in front of the earth cauldron, shielding it instead. Long Chen once more withstood the 9-star disciple's attack, this time with his chest. More blood sprayed out of his mouth as his body became covered in cracks. "What are you doing? You're going to die like this. We can't continue this trial. Let's get out of here," shouted the earth cauldron. "Senior, I won't die. Please just watch from the side." Long Chen panted, on the verge of collapse, yet his eyes were still as sharp as a blade. Hearing his response, the earth cauldron was startled. It suddenly understood something and flew to the side, no longer interfering in their battle. Boom! Once more, Long Chen was sent flying. In front of this 9-star disciple, he didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Disregarding the 9-star disciple's unstoppable astral energy, it was his ephemeral movement art that left Long Chen unable to track him. Long Chen couldn't even sense his opponent's whereabouts, let alone anticipate his next move. The 9-star disciple was wild and domineering, showing no mercy to Long Chen just because he was a fellow 9-star disciple. In just a bit, Long Chen was injured badly. Even after going through the sovereign clan's blood tempering, he was unable to endure these attacks. Every palm and fist from the 9-star disciple was devastating, breaking Long Chen's bones repeatedly. At this time, the primal chaos space's restorative abilities revealed itself. The Fusang trees and moon trees continuously quivered as their life energy poured into Long Chen. With their seemingly limitless life energy, Long Chen's wounds rapidly recovered. However, Long Chen was still at the mercy of the 9-star disciple. He tried to counterattack but was unable to do so. This 9-star disciple's attacks were sharp and powerful, flowing naturally one from another, leaving Long Chen with no room to counterattack. Most terrifying of all, the 9-star disciple was growing stronger. With time, his aura intensified, and his attacks grew heavier. Boom! The 9-star disciple's fist struck Long Chen again, but this time, Long Chen didn't go flying. His divine ring glowed behind him, radiating with countless stars swirling within. Long Chen then summoned his own 7-star battle armor. Long Chen crossed his arms to forcibly block the 9-star disciple's punch. He then slowly lowered his arms, revealing his smiling face. Although his robes were in tatters and he was covered in blood, his eyes were full of excitement. "I see. So you were using his energy to awaken your astral energy." The earth cauldron now understood Long Chen's intentions. It sighed in amazement at Long Chen's craziness. Sometimes he really did come up with some terrifying ideas. At the start, Long Chen intentionally let himself be wounded by the 9-star disciple, pushing himself to the verge of death. His goal was to awaken the self-protection instincts of his 9-star energy. This was a crazy gamble. If the 9-star disciple couldn't awaken Long Chen's power, Long Chen would have been beaten to death without a chance to retaliate. Fortunately, his gamble had paid off. The 9-star disciple's energy indeed triggered Long Chen's latent 9-star power. With his 9-star power awakened, Long Chen's strength didn't just increase. His 9-star energy started absorbing the opponent's energy to strengthen itself. That was Long Chen's ultimate goal. It was his first time fighting a 9-star disciple of this caliber, and this presented Long Chen with his best opportunity to delve into the secrets of the 9 stars. As Long Chen's understanding of the 9-star hegemon body art barely scratched the surface, it would be impossible for him to decipher the 9-star hegemon body art's secret arts simply by watching this 9-star disciple's moves. However, by using his 9-star energy to absorb the other side's energy, he could slowly uncover the mysteries of the 9-star hegemon body art. As the other side's energy flowed into Long Chen, his awakened 9-star energy absorbed it eagerly, causing Long Chen to almost shout in excitement. Feeling like he had transformed from a small creek into a vast sea, Long Chen saw a boundless world before him, uncovering mysteries he had never glimpsed before. As expected, I really did take many extra turns, but my direction was still correct. Although there was a bit of deviation, It's not too late to correct them now. Looking at his own arms, he sensed the astral energy that was constantly changing within him and felt an unprecedented confidence swell up within him. He felt like he could control the very heavens at this moment. When Long Chun blocked the 9-star disciple's attack, the disciple didn't immediately attack again. Instead, he slowly clasped his hands together. With his thumbs pressed against each other, he raised his forefingers and middle fingers. Hand seals? Long Chun was shocked. He had never used hand seals for his battle armor. The 7-star diagram behind the 9-star disciple trembled. Following that, another diagram appeared behind his hands. When Long Chun saw it, his hair stood on end. With a shout, he smashed his elbow to his side. At the start, the 9-star disciple was right in front of Long Chun. However, just as Long Chun's elbow moved, the 9-star disciple materialized right beside him and collided with Long Chun's elbow perfectly. Boom! This exchange shattered Long Chun's elbow. It seemed that the 9-star disciple's fist was even more terrifying than a saint weapon. To Long Chun's surprise, the aura of the 9-star disciple was continuously changing, altered by the 7-star diagram behind his hands. This time, the 9-star disciple didn't give Long Chun any chance to breathe. His hand shot for Long Chun's throat, his fingers resembling claws, suddenly just inches away from Long Chun's throat. Long Chun shot back with all his power, but the claw still tore through his shoulder, ripping a chunk of his flesh off. Long Chun gritted his teeth in pain. Seeing the 9-star disciple attacking again, Long Chun actually used his chest to withstand a palm strike. The 9-star disciple's palm pierced straight through Long Chun's chest. This time, he couldn't withstand the attack. Had it been anyone other than Long Chun, they would have been blown into a mist of blood. Long Chun flew back. This time, his injury was so severe that even the primal chaos space was unable to instantly heal him. Moreover, the 9-star disciple seemed to have no intention of sparing Long Chun. He appeared in front of Long Chun again and threw a punch on his head. In front of this killing blow, Long Chun clenched his teeth and unleashed his own punch, his arm instantly covered in stars. Not good. Long Chun had intentionally let the palm strike him, as he wanted his 9-star power to memorize that attack and carve it into him. However, after that attack, he instinctively summoned his astral arm. This was a technique he had learned from the Starry River of the Sky Art, as he couldn't summon the 9-star disciple's technique yet. With a pained grunt, Long Chun's arm shattered, almost exploding from this blow. Just then, the 9-star disciple followed up with another attack. Calm down. Calm down. Remember that hand seal. Long Chun was on the brink of death. If he could not block this attack, he would very likely die. All of a sudden, time seemed to slow down. That 9-star disciple's fist was moving slowly, and all kinds of sounds faded away. The only thing that remained constant was the flickering of the stars in the sky. Long Chun closed his eyes, recalling the 9-star disciple's hand seal. It was a very simple hand seal with no profundities to speak of. The seal kept revolving in his mind. Long Chun suddenly recalled that the stars in the sky had flashed when the 9-star disciple made this seal. I understand. Long Chun cried out. When others used hand seals, they were drawing out the power of heaven and earth. However, the 9-star disciple's hand seal could draw out the astral energy of the stars. Long Chun's attention had all been on that simple seal, which caused him to neglect the change in the stars above. After thinking of that, Long Chun instantly understood. Although Long Chun hadn't tested that hand seal, he had cultivated the Starry River of the Sky Art. Having learned how to draw the power of the stars into him, he knew the position and movements of the stars above him. However, at this time it was too late for him to put that into practice. In a desperate bid to protect himself, Long Chun summoned Lei Linger, who materialized a lightning shield in front of him. Boom! The power behind this 9-star disciple's fist was unimaginable, blasting Lei Linger and her shield. However, Lei Linger's intervention bought Long Chun some precious time. As he rapidly retreated, with the healing power of the primal chaos space, His arm fully recovered and the hole in his chest started to rapidly heal. Long Chen formed a hand seal identical to that of the 9-star disciple. The next moment, countless stars in the starry sea of his manifestation started to light up according to a certain rhythm. A 7-star diagram also appeared around Long Chen's arms. Boom! 2 fists covered in different 7-star diagrams crashed into each other.